Even villains, as we know, are divided into several ranks. There are those who make the hero suffer until the end. There are also those who tie him hand and foot and then disappear, among whom the main character is the most important. The girl is miserable and annoying, a gem that shines brighter when there is trash next to it. To highlight the created, there is a villain who does not really have any power. The sudden death brought back memories of her past life, causing her to doubt. The development is very similar to the book she read earlier. The teacher is the fourth son of the Bayek Li family, one of the 10 greatest Marima. This man is a saint who sacrificed himself to awaken the one only the main character knew about. The strange thing is that even though several years have passed since the brunette read the novel, she clearly remembers the development of the plot. In this novel, the father's death is foreshadowed. The rampant slaughter is also predicted. And over the course of 10 years, the characters die one after another. The woman understood that she had to run away. If she lived like a rat, no one would know about someone like her. I wanted to stay alive. But no, a man appeared in the darkness of the night. He chuckled. It's sad that Baek Lee and Kang's daughter is so worthless. Even villains are divided. There is such a weak and worthless rank, the representative of which is the heroine. There is also evil, which will become the greatest enemy for the hero. It darkens in the eyes. The lady died, remaining a non-entity. The girl hears voices. She is in pain, but no one will come to help. She rarely opens her eyes, as if she woke up from a dream. Looking around, she doesn't quite understand what's going on. But one thing is clear. She definitely died, but somehow ended up in her room. The father is nearby. Perhaps this scene is shown by the Lord, since the girl died and went to heaven. Many admired Baek Lee Kang for his beauty as a mentor. He had a strong personality that belied his appearance. The man cannot hold back. He cries, repeating that he had to protect the baby, but he failed. He had never said anything like this before. The confidence in the unreality grows, smiling. The little girl asks not to be sad. For all the time they spent together, the girl sees such a confused face for the first time. The older she got, the more their relationship deteriorated. Nothing in her past life could stop what was happening. There was neither that warm look nor that smile. Unfortunately, the beauty doesn't even remember what his face looked like before his death. The young man was truly a good man. He sacrificed a lot when he died, but nothing worked out anyway. Although he was a fictional character, he was incredibly hasty even, so he remained sincere towards his daughter. In Baek Lee Kang's past life, he was the only one who stayed by his side. And as she stood up, the girl said that she loved him. It makes no difference where she is now. The most important thing is that she finally managed to say the cherished words. The man suddenly reaches out to hug the girl. He thought that they were holding a grudge against him, but it seems that this is not the case at all. Continuing to apologize over and over again, the hero does not even see the confusion. What is happening is too realistic, like a dream. It is not clear whether it will be possible to be loved, at least this time. Now everything starts again. The lady sits with her head bowed when she is distracted from her thoughts. Someone's loud, rather rude voice is heard. Dangim entered the room. There is water for washing in the basin. Help will probably not be needed. There will be no problems. Behind the door, the maid begins to complain that Baek Lee Young is already mentally ill. They called her several times, but she seemed not to hear anything. The brunette is in a large, dilapidated, unadorned room. The house where everyone treats her like cattle is so familiar. A serene smile appears on her face, which means that the beauty has returned and ended up in the worst body, the energy of which is not controlled. Miraculously, the heroine came back to life, but the core where the internal energy is collected is destroyed. Now is the time when the lady has just become crippled. The head of the Baehyuk family, where the girl lives, had 3 wives and 4 children. Among them was the youngest son. His mother was number 3 in the harem and gave birth to a gifted child. Baek Lee Kang was considered a master of the sword. Such geniuses are born once in 100 years. He was unusually handsome, gentle but honest, and could not tolerate injustice. Such a great warrior and man suddenly claimed Yeon as his daughter, even though he had no connection with her. Naturally, the house turned upside down. The unmarried son had a bastard without a mother and internal magic. The grandfather, who had placed great hopes on the young man, was especially angry, but the sword master's stubbornness was unshakable. A child that no one wanted was taken into the family, And the girl thought that the father, like everyone else, did not love her. At the moment, not all is lost, because there are more than 10 years left before death. This time, the little girl wants to save the man she came to his residence, but now she is worried, not knowing what to do or say. Young begs himself to calm down. The beginning was not bad. He needs to pull himself together so that everything continues like this. He will be ashamed to death if something does not go as expected. Turning around, the young man notices that the girl is already on her feet. The little girl runs towards him, screaming his name, but then she stumbles. It's cold inside. She understands that she's going to fall. The collision should have already happened, but no opening her eyes, the girl realizes that she was caught in midair. The man had already warned that he shouldn't run around the room, nodding quickly. The lady notices that he has bags under his eyes. Only now did the girl realize that her father had not slept all night, just to try to find a way to cure her. Stretching out her small arms, the beauty persistently looks straight into the eyes, asking to be hugged quickly. At first, the man did not understand what exactly was being asked of him, but then he did it anyway, which was a bit awkward. The girl hasn't changed at all. She remembers her past life. No one has ever hugged her like that, not even Beckley Kang himself. The brunette asks if his daughter slept well, and if anything hurts. If something is wrong, she definitely needs to tell him. The baby nods and snuggles closer. The whole idyll is destroyed when the man reminds her about the need for the decoction. Each time Li Yan took various medications, went to the doctor, and took the pills again, but only slightly different ones. It seems that the heroine has tried all the rare medicines that existed in this world. It has become her reality. Beck Lee woke up. She realized that she had accidentally passed out. The man sitting there said something and ran out the door. Deciding to go outside, the girl looks around. The yard is unusually quiet, even considering the very foundations. The Khan family lived in the western part. Initially, the father's residence was in another place, but when he brought his daughter, the grandfather kicked him out. There are no normal servants in this place either. They have gathered together in the courtyard to discuss that it seems the master has returned. There will be a reception this evening. The hostess said that one half of the servants should remain in the residence, and the other should go to the main temple. Baehyuk returned extremely unexpectedly, which is typical of him. This man is a very capable person. He single-handedly raised a small family into one of the 10 great ones in the country. It was not easy for him. There were obstacles. He could spend the whole year training, and after a short rest, he would immediately go on a trip, so he was often not at home. Today, something will happen that will make grandfather hate his granddaughter the most. Father needs to be stopped. It could be dangerous. The little girl took off as fast as she could, but soon stopped. She had no strength left at all. The illness was having a strong effect on her. This is not the time to get discouraged. If you can't run, you should at least walk slowly. Even though Beck Lee Young was the villain in the novel in the past, she had no choice but to follow this path. And now, again, everything is heading towards the same outcome. This time, the maiden will change her fate. She is no longer a stupid 6-year-old child who knows nothing about this world. The lady reached the entrance to the residence. She was asked if everything was okay, and in trying to answer, she began to cough. The brunette asked where her father was. At that moment, a loud cry was heard in Baehyuk's voice. It became clear that everything had already started there. Only those who were allowed to enter that room by the grandfather, and these are direct descendants who held important positions and were recognized by the family. Of course, Yun has no right to go there, but somehow she simply has to fix her fate. A voice is heard. It is very familiar. A girl with dark hair appears in front of the heroine, so similar to the girl's father. Back Lee, Yiren is Kang's free sister, and she lets out an indignant sigh when she hears that the child came all alone. Turning to the one she hates the most for now, she sincerely asks what she did wrong. She should know her place, but why? In the past, the heroine was most afraid of running into her aunt. If they met each other's eyes, she usually grumbled and raged, showing everything else. If they met each other's eyes, the woman ordered them to bow their heads. She constantly taught them how to greet each other. If they did it incorrectly, she condemned them. Whatever the lady did, nothing was ever right. In fact, it was terrible she was punished. Previously, the brunette thought that her aunt's hatred was quite natural, because the heroine was the family's disappointment and a disgrace. I once heard a lady say that she always knew she could take revenge on Yikang. Everything fell into place. The man that the aunt truly despised was her half-brother. People hearing this crazy woman will mistakenly decide that the problem is in the arrogance of the beauty, but in fact this is not so. Baek Lee-young won't let this go so easily. She coughs, asking for forgiveness for not being able to greet him properly. Now it looks like a loved one is scolding his sick niece. In the eyes of others, she is now a monster. The fact that the girl is really sick brings her a lot of benefits. It is rare to see a woman's confused face. If the girl says that she feels better now, she will start screaming even more, and if she says that she is sick, she will be driven back. The heroine is literally forced to say something, but in the end, nothing comes out. She still knows that there is no one in her residence. It seems that everyone was busy and went somewhere. The housework and management of the servants is done by the grandfather's second wife, who is also the aunt's biological mother. The servants became completely lazy due to their grandmother's indulgence. The main thing was that this did not reach Baehyuk's ears. Suddenly, the screams in the room stopped. Grandfather is the best master. Obviously, he heard everything and the woman knew it from the very beginning, so she put on a show. And Ran assures that the servants would not do such a thing. But she is interrupted by the loud voice of her father, calling his daughter and granddaughter to him. The brunette is no longer at the age to fall for such tricks. If you add up all the years of her life, it will be the same as the elder Baek Lee. The little girl enters the residence. She immediately feels uneasy. Now it is clear what it is like to kill people with just one look. Only one thing is not clear, or rather the location of the father. Looking around, the child notices a man standing on the floor. Of course it was clear that the situation was not the best. But this was going beyond all bounds. The man was shouting, addressing his daughter. The beauty, like an exemplary blood relative, came to say hello, trying to encourage young Yeon to do the same. Now that the lady has finished her greeting, it would be a good idea for her to disappear from sight. It would be easier for everyone. The old man does not see a problem with his treatment. Initially, his daughter was not allowed to enter the room. The behavior is inappropriate. This is not the way to bear the name of the greatest. The lady falls to her knees, starting to apologize. Iran's gaze begs her brother to do something, and he clears his throat, assuring her that this is probably enough. She has realized her mistake. Realizing that nothing could be changed, the beauty stood up and left, and silence fell over the estate. Yeon is worried that if she says something wrong, she will also be kicked out. Someone behind her asks if she is okay. The boy's name is Baek Lee Myung-yi Mook's son. The uncle is quite friendly towards the child, and the cousin is very similar to his father in this they are the same. It's wonderful. The man calls the beauty closer to him, but she only falls to her knees next to her father. If she had gone there, her grandfather would have certainly been angry. Not only is the aunt on the evil side and hates Baek Lee Kang, but also her brother, who acts like a dandelion from God. The little girl clutches her head. She is suddenly struck by severe pain. After all, the floor is cold. Her body is still very weak. The man wants to ask his father to lift Yeon up, but he screams. Then the old man asks the beauty if she knows the reason why the brunette knelt down. The heroine, of course, is not aware, but she heard that before she came home, the guy never upset his grandfather. Perhaps even this time, it's all because of her. She chooses her words very well. Since she came, they'll ask her personally. Baek Lee Myung steps forward. As soon as he sees the case with the golden pill, he's going to tell the girl about it, because she has only recently come to the family. The virgin refuses. She has already heard about this. This medicine is capable of reviving even a dead person. The brunette still can't hide his displeased expression. To be honest, the girl knew it would be like this. The old man nods. Thanks to the pill, the dead will be able to return to life. The method of preparing the medicine has long been lost. There are only a few left in the world. The man managed to get the medicine only by luck, but Yikung sits and asks him to give it to him to cure his daughter. In her past life, the maiden learned a lesson. She humiliated herself by constantly apologizing, and everyone did nothing but look down on her. If the little girl belittles herself, then the same thing happens to her father, and this only makes it more difficult for him to protect himself. The lady has no right to do the same in this life. She timidly asks if she can ask a question. It is not clear whether the pill can heal the body. I have not heard about it, but still there are many doubts. The father is silent, judging by the expression on his face. He is thinking about the same thing. He has too many thoughts. The greatness of the sacred golden pill was not an exaggeration. But reviving and restoring a person with a defect were two different things. Any medicine should be used for its intended purpose. Right now, she is not suffering from a terminal illness, so there is no point in it. In the past, the father got what was most important for health, but contrary to his expectations, the girl did not recover. Of course, the medicine had some effect, but Dantian never recovered. The lady is fine and happy to sit in the hall with her father. At the time, she was criticized for the fact that the puny trash became just a healthy offspring. The old man asks his son what he thinks about Yeon's words, and the girl puts her hand out to show support. The man believes that if there is even a little hope, he does not dare to give up. The opinion remains unchanged. It seemed that their relationship would deteriorate even more, but Baekhyun simply exhaled. The young man is still stubborn. Grandpa didn't get angry and they didn't quarrel. Now the mission is considered complete. They both can get up from the floor. As he gets up, Yong feels dizzy. His ears are blocked. Everything around him has gone dark, and he can no longer see anything. For some reason, there is blood on my hands. I can't believe that there are such complications. After the cold tiles, my body is completely exhausted. The girl remembers meeting that man in white. He knew how Yeon wandered the streets picking up trash. Now the man sits by his daughter's bed, trying not to cry anymore. He doesn't understand why she doesn't wake up. Then the young man said that he was a new father when he took the girl by the hand. She was scared and, of course, excited. When the beauty crossed the magnificent huge gates, all her bright expectations were destroyed. Jumping up on the bed, the brunette looks around in a lost state, not understanding where she is. The body seems to feel better, but it still hurts. The heavy feeling, alas, has not gone away. The man breaks down and screams, asking why she had to go somewhere. He told her to wait in the room. Asking for forgiveness, the beauty admits that she made a mistake. A voice asks what exactly happened. A grandfather stands in the aisle. Yeon just woke up, but they'll just talk. Moreover, this is Baehyuk's room. He has the right. Everything is magnificent. Around only now, the gold catches the eye. A young man enters the room with a decoction. He doesn't always do other people's jobs. He just took the tray from the servant right in front of the chambers to get inside. Changsuk Ryang Baekli's right-hand man smiles at the girl who freezes with the frozen gaze of a child. You'll have to drink the medicine, but you won't have to worry, it's not bitter at all. Seoktae himself said so. Although the family doctor examined the baby in a past life, but much later than now, the novel moves a little. Everything changes. That man is a doctor who was brought in haste by the head of the clan himself. He finished the examination half an hour ago. The brunette will have to undergo a full course of treatment. She will remain in these chambers for at least 3 more full days. No one in the family had ever been inside Grandpa's residence, so they can definitely be thankful for that. Already getting ready to leave, the man only asks to take care of the beauty so that she does not die before her time. No matter what anyone says, a girl should take good care of herself and not ignore her under any circumstances. Because of everything that happened, the lady lost consciousness, but now she is settled in her grandfather's residence. If you think about it, then only good signs. The man's words bring her out of her trance. They had kept it a secret from him that the little girl had suffered at the hands of the maids in her own estate. Yeon tries to assure that everything is fine, but it doesn't work. It's clear that the inhabitants despise the beauty, not considering her worthy. The baby fainted when her father and grandfather were nearby, so she was lucky the servants would not have taken such good care of her. This cannot go on any longer. The young man is persistent and is sure that he must tell his mother everything so that she can sort it out. Trying not to cough, the brunette begs him not to do this. The grandmother shouldn't know about what's happening, considering that she started all this herself. If the woman's peace is disturbed, then Yikan's reputation will fall even lower. Although it would seem it couldn't go any lower. That clear look makes you sad. He must have known that his stepmother hated him. But despite that, he continued to do the right thing. It still won't work to say, looking at the truth in the eye. One can say that the problem won't be solved, even if the servants are scolded. When their grandmother punishes them, their behavior may change, but they will not admit their guilt, and the bullying will only intensify. This problem will remain until Pik-young acknowledges her granddaughter. Everyone around her hates her, considering her an imposter. The man nods and decides to ask if the old man dislikes her. The truth cannot be hidden. There is no need to lie. The brunette in some sense understands, thus showing how strong love is. It would be strange if the hero stopped being angry at the child's existence altogether. There is no paternity confirmation system in this world. Anyone can bring a child into the house having found it anywhere, but an old man will not pretend that this is normal. The little girl is only 6 years old. She cannot know what it is quite logical by hugging her father. The girl thus reduces suspicions. If they try, the grandfather will understand them. The novel revealed what exactly the head of the family thought about his son. In fact, the heroine's relationship with Yi Kong is exactly the same. They didn't love each other, but that didn't change. The woman remembers well what her grandfather's eyes looked like during the funeral. This is enough to understand everything. He is not bad. It seemed to have started to rain. Opening her eyes after sleep, the girl saw water on the table near the open window. There are completely different servants in the head's residence. They wipe everything down. The lady decides to sleep a little more. Opening her eyes, she hears a familiar voice. Dangum screams indignant that the mistress behaved incorrectly. The maid next to her tries to calm her down. Chundal has been beaten 20 times with a stick and still can't get up. Her friend's punishment is quite simple in comparison. The woman hasn't been able to move for a week. She's still lying down resting. The two of them finally moved away from the room. It seemed to have gotten quieter. Of course, the brunette was aware, but she realized again that the servants in their residence were terrible. It was better not to get distracted and sleep a little more. The door opened and Dangim appeared there. If she continued to scream like this, it would only get worse. The woman puts her foot on the bed after she was beaten with rods. All her calves were swollen. It was not worth going into the main hall. The beauty looks at her with a strange look. It's not because of her. The lazy maid is to blame herself. Previously, the lady calmly endured all the humiliations. Obviously, something has changed. The father will be disappointed in her if he finds out. Asking to fill the kettle, the girl suggests leaving her alone. Realizing her situation, the girl suggests that Yeon do it herself. They were distracted from the conversation. It turned out that Ko Chong-guan had arrived at the estate he brought with him, many different beauties. Smiling, the man assures that all the gifts were given by none other than the head of their family. Baehyun usually gives such gifts to family members. After traveling, it means that the grandfather has respected his son and granddaughter. The financial manager shows the first one in his hands is a fur coat of especially good quality. It is recommended to make a scarf out of it. I'll have to convey my gratitude, but Yikong won't accept all of this. Yan is still too young to receive such expensive things. The father is refusing in vain. This is a free path to reconciliation. The other children received gifts. The lady also has the right to this. More importantly, what is in your hands are hard-earned medicinal herbs that are difficult to find in health shops. Ginseng and knotweed help restore energy exhaling. The brunette takes them. Of course, Ko Chong-guan knew that it would be so. The man knows the headman's son too well. He smiles because he remembers the boy as a little boy. In this confusion, the young man almost forgot the most important thing, taking out a familiar box. He bends down. Inside is a golden pill. The girl doesn't understand why the grandfather gave the medicine. Maybe it's a test. It seems they want the lady to take it right now. Dangum snatches some jewelry from the maid's hands. She has the right to look. She doesn't see a problem with it. The girl had a habit of stealing things, and she was the one who whispered more than anyone else that her father hated the lady. Little by little, the ignoramus stole the gifts and spread rumors that the lady had thrown them away because she didn't like them. The pendant is truly wonderful. Looking into her eyes, the girl asks to give it back. It will be better that way. The girl already has a lot of gifts, and now she will give something as a sign of consolation for what happened not so long ago. Before he could answer, Young heard his father's voice. The medicines given by the chief were much better. A decoction could be made from the herbs. There was no need to even ask permission to take them. The brunette didn't think she would see such pure joy. All the gifts belong to the beauty, but since they share everything, she will not dispose of them alone. Turning around, the heroine notices that the maid asked her for the pendant, deciding that she was allowed. The woman said that the body was beaten because of the lady, so this way it would be possible to pay back. These are gifts from the grandfather. It is better not to give them to just anyone. The girl's face quickly changes, and she asks when she said something like that. Now she has to back down. Without holding back, Danggeum shouts, perhaps too loudly, and in an instant, Yi Kong's expression changes and becomes icy. It is worth lowering your voice despite the fact that Yan is still very young. Those who were hired are still obliged to serve her. Falling to her knees, the girl apologizes. It will not be possible to close your eyes to this until sunset. The lady will be on her knees thinking about her actions. After this, Beckley took his daughter with him to his residence. The man asks if the maid always behaved like this. It doesn't really matter, the brunette shouldn't feel remorse about it. That man got punished because of his own fault. It seems that the father is worried about the beauty even more than she is. This is the first time she has seen him in such a state. This is something new. Because of the desire to save my daughter, there was no time left to look around. It's sad. This time the girl wants to live a truly happy life next to her father. Everything will be fine with them. The list of gifts was made. The servant asked where to take them. The medicines to Yikang's residence. The rest to Yan. No matter how much a man thinks there is something that bothers him, so he has to ask directly. The expression on her face is too serious. The little girl is not sure what they want to tell her. Something is wrong here. The man quite unexpectedly suggests staying to live with him so as not to return back. Of course, if the baby doesn't mind, then everything will be fine. But it's worth understanding that no one is forcing her. Everything is fine. Father begins his tirade about why his estate is better. For the first time he says so much to end it all, the lady agrees. The man was too happy with how it ended, smiling he thanks. And Kana is called the strongest of the masters in the Murim world. But even so, he is nervous when asking for an opinion. The mood was improved by just one word, and in these warm embraces, the girl was crazy with happiness. And Rand screams, "It hasn't been long since the last time," and the maid was punished again. People have already started whispering. Beck Lee. Yikang ruins his mother's reputation. She can't leave things as they are. Song Danhu tries to calm his daughter down. In the end, Dengum wasn't beaten or even kicked out. She was simply forced to her knees so that she wouldn't think about anything. They say that Grandpa is showing interest in Yeon if things are left as is. Yikang will become the head of their family in the future. We need to bring Yiran's children if they are nearby. Bae Hyuk will forget about the cripple who is not even able to learn martial arts. The girl goes out with a man for a walk. Since moving to her father's residence, she has lived without touching the ground with her feet. Every day the beauty was under such protection in the past, she could not even dream of such a thing. The baby always made the man feel embarrassed before she would have looked at the situation with horror trying to escape. A man's face becomes stony when he begins to feel embarrassed, and only an occasional blush makes this known. There is noise from the training ground, loud voices mocking the fact that no one else is entering the ring. The voice is familiar, of course. Baek Lee Pyo and Suak are on the site. For some reason, they appeared right now. Baek Lee Yiran's twin sons are cousins and have different last names due to a contract between their mother and her husband. On the wedding day, the woman asked that when the children were born, they would have different surnames so that she would have heirs in two places at once. Following the agreement, the girl gave birth to twins, and they were immediately separated because that was the benefit. It is therefore strange that these two suddenly showed up in someone else's house when they were supposed to be with their father. The father observes the boys' abilities. They have good technique, but they still lack the basics. Their style has not been developed. Suddenly, the young man freezes. He was saying something and did not understand how the lady knew that these were her relatives they had never met before. In justification, the beauty explains that they are very similar, especially since children of this age can only be cousins. The girl has a keen eye this time. She is right. The boys returned only a few days ago. It is not yet known for whom they have come. The young men look around laughing. No one comes out against them. This is simply ridiculous. You need to try not to run into them in her past life. The heroine was constantly pestered. The memories alone give her a headache. After that day, the time for walks was reduced. The lady stayed at home so as not to meet them. If the beauty is bored at home, she can find activities. Her father suggested trying to learn to write. It would be more logical to find a teacher. But on the contrary, Baek Lee Kong decided that he would take his place. It's strange that the brunette didn't think of doing something like this from the very beginning. He lights up with a smile, asking how well the lady can write. Freezing, the beauty realizes that she cannot remember the hieroglyphs that she learned 10 years ago. The task is more difficult than it should have been. The little girl admits that she only took lessons a couple of times. It's okay, they'll learn from the very basics. It is quite difficult for the girl to write. Her hand gets tired quickly. She has a very strong desire to write since she continues in spite of everything. And Khan can laugh as much as he wants, but the child will not give in. She understands that he is not doing this on purpose. At first, it seemed that there were no ideas what to write. But in the end, it was decided to write the father's name. He immediately understood it. The man doesn't know how the lady found out. Maybe it's just true, childish love for someone who cares. Tears gather in her eyes. The young man was not near his daughter, but she still remembered his name. It was too sweet. The father is crying. But this is not something to do. The woman is trying to calm him down. From now on, she will write a lot of good words doing this more often. Taking the girl off the chair, the brunette asks her not to take such risks in the future. She almost fell. The maid came in. It turned out that the head of the family was inviting everyone to dinner at his residence, and all the other family members would be there too. The hero calmly asks why they are being gathered. He himself did not notice that his eyes were swollen after crying, and this was noticeable to others. The girl did not understand why she was invited, but she still agreed to go. The hall was already fully assembled. There is silence in the room, a very awkward atmosphere, and Kana is asked to spare a little time. His father will arrive soon. As he leaves, the man asks her to sit quietly, and if anything happens, her daughter is obliged to tell him. Yiren smiles noticeably. Some idea has come to her mind, that's obvious. As soon as the door closed, the twins asked if the girl was really crippled and couldn't practice because of her damaged dantian. After the first return, the first meeting with Pio and Ak changed a lot. It was immediately noticeable. Unfortunately, even so, their first words did not change one bit. They remained just as terrible. The girl must know what trash is, smiling radiantly. She promises to tell her father everything. And Rand screams, the girl has no right to snitch. She reeks of having grown up on the street. Making a sweet face, as if nothing was clear, the little girl recalls how her father asked her to report everything to him. If she did this, the girl would not leave her alone. Yikong will also be asked how long the lady will be in this house. Judging by the situation, it will not last long at all. Bayek Li Muk and his son enter the room. It is not clear what happened, but screams can be heard even in the hallway. The brother arrived too late, but immediately asks Yeon how she dares to communicate with her aunt, as if she doesn't care. Myung calmly asks to be softer towards his cousin. She is still just a child and doesn't understand anything. Baek Lili also came here. They live in the same yard, but have never seen each other before. They ask her to say hello. Lily is very shy, so she didn't react at all. It was a bit of a problem for her. Sitting to the side and watching the family picture, the lady exhales. She is waiting for her father to return. This is not her place. Finally, it's time for lunch. There is a lot of different food on the table. Everything looks too delicious. At the table, the old man asks if Myung is currently learning to write. He is interested in how his grandson is progressing. Jung Yun's private school teacher retired, so she calls another teacher to homeschool her. The man knows everything, but still asks about the situation. For no apparent reason, he asks a question about Young. As it turned out, the father personally teaches his daughter. This time, a famous scientist from Gyeongsong came to the city along with Seok Tae. At first, not everyone knew about it, but Teacher Ji was truly famous, and when he grew old, he decided to spend the rest of his life in peace. In order to escape the routine, he moved to Morum, and soon he opened a school where students flocked. His residence became a place for making valuable connections, and the teacher said he wouldn't mind accepting Baehyuk's grandchildren into the school. He asks what the assembled people think about this. In the past, Guy had no fear in recruiting many students. Even then, Yeon didn't get an offer for her. It's a great chance the twins are furious. 4 hours of classes are too much. Only at first, there will be so many, because it is already clear that people from warrior families will come to him. The hours will be reduced as soon as there is progress. In a family where all are warriors, martial arts come first. But if it is Baek Lee, everything is completely different. Naturally, they must know martial arts, but they must also master the other 6. The girl does not want to achieve great success. She already knows that this will never happen. She just wants to know the basics. The heroes don't practice fencing all day long. Don't think about it. They shout back that 20 hours won't be enough. It's a lie that the boys don't let go of the sword, even for a minute. Pio and Ak still think that they are training hard. They are close to reaching the 3rd rank. It is amazing that everything is moving so fast. It has been a pleasure to have such outstanding children for a long time. At the first rank, you can cut a tree branch at the second. The tree itself, as is known, the fifth rank, is capable of splitting a stone. Grandpa surpasses the ninth rank of the Wailing Wall, and is a 10th rank master for him. This is a mere trifle. And Khan is now in 8th place and is approaching ninth. He was sent by a genius because he broke all the records set in his youth. This is wonderful. The brunette smirked. If her children surpassed the third rank, they would even be able to beat her brother. The dream was a failure, even in the past life. Deciding it's time to ask Myung, the man asks the question, a great opportunity to learn from a wonderful man. The boy wants to go, but the twins are so focused on martial arts that he is afraid to fall behind them. There's Lily left, who hasn't been asked yet. She doesn't quite understand why the conversation is suddenly turning to school. Smiling, the little girl notes that there will be no problem if she calls the teacher to her home. This is the ideal option. Bakli. Yimuk yells at his daughter. She didn't understand what was being said. She should have listened instead of sitting in silence eating food. Realizing that a conflict is unfolding, the man orders silence. All the children can simply not go anywhere. Yeon freezes in horror. She hoped to at least get a decent education in this life. And Khan, who had not paid attention to anything all this time, notices that the father has not yet asked his daughter. She also has her own desires. And Ran, as usual, reacts perhaps too violently. Yeon, in her opinion, knows nothing at all. She is the same age as Lily. Accordingly, there is no point in this. Her father is angry. A man shouts, asking the girl if she wants to go to school. She wants to hide somewhere. For some reason, she was the one who was lucky enough to be attacked. She doesn't know if she can change anything. The girl starts by saying that she doesn't know why her grandfather is angry. Her aunt is laughing, and at best her niece will whine that she doesn't want to go anywhere. Her brothers can't go to school, and they don't just refuse. Making a cute face, the brunette remembers that since they are already at level 3, it is time to start isolated training. There is no time to put it off. This is one of the most brutal training methods that forces one to focus only on training when one is deep in a cave. The minimum is a month, the maximum is several years, and no one there will support them. The only thing they eat is dirty and tasteless pills to eliminate hunger. Aunt asks if her sons can handle something like this. There should be no doubt grandfather went through something similar when he moved to the 3rd level, and the same thing happened with father. The brunette is very jealous of them. They have already approached the 3rd rank. I would like to congratulate them in advance and wish them good luck in all their endeavors. The boys wanted to start complaining, but with just one look, Yi King silenced them. Yiren doesn't understand what they're talking about. She doesn't like this whole idea at all. Father had never been through training in the cave he had just started, but mother got sick, so he had to leave only 3 days after he started. The girl didn't remember it that way, so she should ask the head of the family for forgiveness. But he, oddly enough, suddenly lights up with joy. Yan is right now is not the time for them to go to school. The man orders Pio and Akka to be prepared for isolated training. She wants to cry. The woman doesn't know how they will get through it. They can't live on pills alone. It seems that it won't be so easy to convince them. The hero also went through training at their age. Nothing happened to him. Everything was fine. As a mother, she should think about the future. A high rank at a young age is irreplaceable. Not everyone is given the opportunity to level up. It is an investment that needs to be made, no matter how scary it may be. Bakli. Iran was 12 years old when she finally reached the 3rd rank, but she was not special in her family because Yi Kong, a great candidate, stood next to her. Mom turns to Pio. And Aku isolated. Training won't hurt them. The boys immediately start shouting that they definitely need to go to school. That's the only way. The man usually had an all-or-nothing attitude. If they initially said yes, then he could send everyone together without any problems. If no one went, the girl had dealt enough attacks. Smiling calmly at her father, the little girl offers to try another tasty treat. The beauty wants to try the best of everything so that she can remember it well. Since the hero has already tried a lot, he refuses to eat even more. The old man looks at what is happening. The daughter quarrels with the children, and the son yells at Lily for still continuing to cry. The girl talks about how wonderful all the food was, mentioning each dish in detail. Baehyuk asks why the man doesn't feed the child. She is still very thin. Almost choking, the little girl does not understand what happened and what caused such a malicious flow of aggression. The guy makes excuses. It seems the beauty just really liked everything. In fact, it is true the dishes that were served were all wonderful. You can't refuse, and the grandfather should also try. He orders to bring him a new plate. Deciding not to bother the servants, Jan gets up from her chair and brings out the food. She has chosen the most delicious things she has ever tasted in her life. The man blushes, but starts screaming in time. He was only going to eat a few, but for some reason, they prepared a full meal for him. This won't do. The little girl feels like she has crossed the line by taking the plate to herself. The young man quickly starts gobbling everything up, continuing to grumble that the child is having trouble even holding the dishes. It's time to go back to his place. It turned out that they didn't mean the place, but the room. It seems that they don't want to see the lady here anymore. She's in wild horror, because she didn't have time to finish what she planned. What a pity. The next morning, a variety of different items for study appeared on the table. Judging by the grandfather's disposition, he would send everyone to school together. It seems like it's good, but the lady didn't expect him to be so kind to her. The father paid a lot of attention to such details. It's obvious. For Baehyuk, Baek Lee is still a child who can't even write. He didn't hesitate to tell the teacher about his health condition. All that's left is to be grateful for the opportunity. The girl didn't know how to repay the kindness, so she started with sewing. She wanted to make flowers or a butterfly, but the embroidery looked more like some kind of rabbit. Initially, the beauty was going to do something better, but it seems that in the end she didn't quite succeed, which is a pity, because she was hoping for a positive result. It is easier to believe that a rabbit was made than to entrust the delivery to servants. It will be strange if presented personally. The old man has been kind lately, but he probably hasn't recognized it yet. Near the entrance to the residence, a lady stops to greet a knight, and the question is written right on his face. Why did the child talk to me? The little girl pretends that she forgot something while she was visiting, so she insistently asks to go in to pick it up. If there is no other way, she will have to leave the scarf in the room and leave. Previously, the man would have ignored Baek Lee and ordered him to wait for his master to return. But recently, strange rumors about a child have been circulating in the eastern part. The hero agrees to take her inside. Initially, she was not considered a member of the clan and was despised, but it seems that something does not add up. The situation has changed, perhaps even too much. The owner left in the morning, and it is not clear when he will return. You can't just throw the baby out. It would be rude, you have to endure it. So while thinking they found themselves at the door to the room, the child asks to go look for his little thing, which seems to be secret. Children don't have anything secret, but you have to agree the young man will wait outside the door. While the owner is away, there is no point in making a mess inside. It is better to return as soon as possible. It will probably be easier for everyone, that is true. Quickly running inside, the lady looks around. Although it would be better to choose where to put the gift, there is not much time left. She needs to hurry while there is such an opportunity. The girl chose the perfect place, which Ying would not notice, but the servants would. The blanket must be regularly hung in the sun, so the handkerchief would soon be found. Footsteps are heard behind her. It turned out to be her grandfather, who scared her half to death. He himself sensed something was wrong, but the child thought that a ghost appeared behind her. A man won't scream while in his own chambers. It wasn't he who broke into someone else's estate like some kind of thief. The girl apologizes sharply, causing embarrassment. Deciding to change the subject, the old man asks if she found what she originally came for. It seems so. There is a package on the table. Since the heroine was caught now, there is no way out. She will have to confess. In fact, the lady brought a gift thinking that it would mean something. She hands over a piece of paper. All this time she was practicing. Baek Lee asks if Yeon embroidered the scarf herself, and if she forced one of the servants to do it for her. The servant would have been fired for such terrible skills. The little girl says that there is a rabbit in it. Only after a few seconds did she realize that she should have said something about the butterfly, or maybe the flower. Now she couldn't change anything. It didn't matter. The mission was accomplished. It was time to leave. Turning around and heading towards the door, the lady decides to take her leave, but she is abruptly stopped and ultimately fails to escape, which is quite sad. Yeon sits at the table thinking about what awaits her next. No comments are enough to say anything about it. The child is asked whether Ak and Pyo will reach the 3rd level this year or not. It's clear from the look that the girl has been found out nervously squeezing the hem of her dress. The little girl shrugs her shoulders. She is not the person to ask. The brunette herself started talking about isolated training, as if she had been informed in advance. She knew that the brothers would not be able to reach the third rank. Watching all this time, the old man realized that his granddaughter was smart enough. Although she was still considered frail, she started that topic only to help her grandfather. Now that the man understood everything, if he continued to deny it, he would only get angrier, and accordingly, it would not lead to anything good. It seemed as if he wanted to send the children to school. Either the beauty will be hated for deciding to mock her direct descendants, or something worse, the interlocutor shouts and orders not to interfere in the future. Of course you have to ask for forgiveness, but it's no use. It's better not to interfere so that Pio and Ak don't think anything bad. They'll think that they're being made fun of. The girl can't master martial arts, and her body is weak enough if the twins start bullying her. It will only get worse. There is no mother or grandmother in this house, because the beauty came from the street. Even if the father cannot interfere, every day will be the same. Unfortunately, this is the truth. And Khan won't always be in the house. He needs to go about his business. At least sometimes there's no need to even dream that at such moments grandfather will protect the beauty. Virgo is not sure if they care about her. She needs to make the first move, lowering her head. The baby imagines that one day they can start arguing, even when she does not want it. The brothers say that their sister is an incompetent cripple, or rather trash, incapable of mastering martial arts. She is not their equal and never will be. That day, before the arrival of the head of the family, Pio and Ak said exactly that, and the man was in shock. He did not understand how he could have allowed something like this to happen right in front of his nose. And Rand doesn't teach them anything at all, since the boys have learned such expressions. The girl is also good. She should have told her father about it instead of keeping silent like a coward. All this is childish talk if the lady does not quarrel with them. Even if she hears some bullying from them later when the body is restored, she will have the right to take up the sword. There is still hope for this. The brunette wants to be self-confident in the past. She lacked confidence that would not be broken by others. This is one of the best qualities of a warrior. Although now the words do not have much meaning and sound, like some kind of joke. But this is not so. What the lady said was sincere. The young master came to the estate to talk to his father. He was informed about Yanni. When he entered, he found a beauty peacefully snoring on the bed, as if nothing had happened. She came there herself. No one forced her. That's not true. This child is much better than Yikong. It must be admitted. Although it is not easy, the brunette at first does not understand what is being discussed, and simply frowns in displeasure. It is difficult for him to understand. In his hands is a handkerchief. It seems that Yan herself embroidered it. The man was shocked for the first time he sees a kid embroider a rabbit for a 10th-rank martial artist. The guy raises an eyebrow. He thought it was a flower or a butterfly, but they yell at him, ordering him to open his eyes and figure out what's what. It's obvious that it's an animal. The girl, in gratitude for being sent to school, wanted to secretly leave her gift in the room. All the grandchildren were sent to one place, but only one decided to express her feelings. In any case, it is not so important. That is why the old man suggested sharing the meal together over the years. The food became tasteless, but seeing how the child happily tried everything it was possible to enjoy it with appetite. In fact, it makes me happy. So the man nods, that's all he said. Yi Kang was always calm, as if there was no point in pushing forward. If Yi Mook or Yi Ran were here, they would probably try by any means to at least once again show the faces of their children to show how beautiful the babies are. No one advised Yan. She independently figured out what could be done, and did it correctly. Without thinking twice, the scarf turned out great, albeit crude. Baehyuk mumbles something, but it seems too quietly, so the boy didn't understand. He repeats a second time, there is no need to delay when it comes to this, because this is also incredibly important. Yikan's daughter needs to be given a sword. She will be able to cope. Her strength will probably not be restored yet, but I want to hope that everything will end well, and she will prove herself. An hour before this, the two were sitting at a table with a variety of dishes. The young man asked only once if the beauty knew anything about her mother. It turned out that she did not. The baby is almost asleep. A child's body is too different from an adult's. Despite everything, the lady is not stupid. She is aware that her mother has left her. This is logical. It is no longer possible to hold on, too much energy has been spent. The face falls down, the man's palm manages to grab the chin and prevent it from hitting the table. The path his son has chosen is not easy. He will have to work hard to ensure that everything ends the way he wants. Baehyuk hopes that regrets will not awaken along the way. Time flew by, unnoticed, like a reaction of light. It seemed like a couple of days had passed, but now it was time to go to school, which had just opened. Today was not a bad day, introducing myself, and the teacher seemed like the right thing to do right away, at that moment. The day was enjoyable. The girl's health has been good lately. It's a pity that she only attended the first lesson, but she's healthy enough to withstand the training. It's noisy in the yard. Students have gathered near the tree. It seems there are twins there, poking a stick upwards. They are now having a demonstration of fencing or something like that. A bird flew by. It was heading somewhere far away. It turned out that there was a nest there which was out of reach. The girl felt bitterness from what she saw. Hurriedly leaving the garden, the lady bumps into her father's servant Anda, who asks how today's lesson went, hoping that everything was as desired. Since it's all over, it's time to go back. Only the man moves, the baby stands still. She knows she can't just leave, leaving the twins by the tree. Leaning closer to the ear, the girl whispers something, asking to fulfill one request, after which she takes off one of the rubber bands, holding it out to her hand. The beauty watches as Andu goes to carry out the task. If she knew that everything would turn out like this, she would have put on expensive jewelry, something more suitable for exchange. There are rumors that the teacher is not very fond of luxury items, so it was specifically necessary to dress as modestly as possible. Everything worked out. The children were driven in, saying that the teacher would arrive soon. The personal servant hurries to the lady, telling her that he has completed the task, doing exactly as he was instructed. Unfortunately, he still does not understand what is what and why it was done. Running up to the tree, the brunette exhales, lucky that they made it in time, and nothing terrible happened. Now she can return back with peace of mind. A strange sound is heard from the side, leaning towards the bushes. The girl understands that there is one of the chicks there, which fell out of the nest by accident. She would like him to be okay, but it seems that something happened to his wing. Before picking up the baby, Yang holds out his handkerchief. He can't let the bird get a human scent. It could be fatal for him, although even through the thing, the scent might leak. But at least there was some chance Andu could put the baby back. It had been 5 years since he had climbed up the tree. It would be nice to try, but in the end, it is unlikely that anything will work out. A boy appeared behind clothes of golden silk, embroidered with patterns of willow branches, jewelry of jade and corundum beads. Anyone will understand that in front of them is a child from a great family. The young man points his finger at the wing. He also noticed that it is broken. The bird cannot live without wings. Perhaps this is the reason why the mother bird did not come when the baby fell. The child had already given up, since it is clear that nothing will happen to him. He can only be left on the ground. The brunette looks at his new acquaintance quietly, asking why she did it. She asked the school servant to drive the children to school early. They even gave him a hair tie. The girl realized that she had been followed all this time. Yeon was asked if it was possible to simply dissuade her acquaintances. The twins are her cousins. This person simply does not know their true identity. Even if this is the case, there is no need to explain to the first person you meet what the current situation is. He does not need to know that the brothers have an overdeveloped sense of competition that cannot be reduced in any way. If the girl had tried to dissuade them, Pio and Ak would have probably done even worse, and then nothing would have helped. Hearing something like that, the young man starts laughing loudly, which is even scarier. In order to stop listening to the ridicule, the lady turns to the servant saying that they need to leave, that they are only holding her up for nothing, constantly getting on her nerves and making things worse for both themselves and her, without even noticing it. Andu quietly asks what he should do with the bird they picked up. Should he put it back in the bushes? No matter how difficult it might be to tell himself, there is no point because the baby will not survive next to its mother anyway. The girl understands that if the nest is disturbed in vain, the mother bird may abandon the other chicks, and this cannot be allowed. It's hard to even take care of yourself. While in Beckley's house, the boy offers to take care of the bird. And finally the beauty looks at him. This is a reason to smile. The brunette introduces himself. His name is Sak Kayak. He recently came here as a distant relative of Sak Tay, the same great teacher who opened this school in Murim. The lady is shown around the garden. It looks like the teacher is well paid. You could say it's almost perfect. There are peonies everywhere. The brunette sees the beautiful pink color. For the first time in Bayekli's garden, there are mostly only white ones. The garden is famous for its beauty, so Kayak offers to pick a bouquet, since he liked it. The heroine tries to refuse, but he smiles literally, continuing to glow from within. It is not clear what this person is thinking, but if he is looking for connections, it is more profitable to be friends with the twins. A figure appeared behind him. It seems that Yi Kong has arrived, but it is only visible briefly. The boy freezes, then worriedly says that there is no one nearby. It seemed that he managed to hear a voice, but since it is not true, it is easier to just stop thinking about it. It seems the girl was mistaken. She turns away in the residence ahead. The young man stopped. There is a living room there, where there is also delicious tea. The girl tries to smile. It seems that something is still wrong, for some reason. Sokayak is sure that the man was not there, and they reached his house. He was leading the lady to his place. In the room, the young man places the chick on a pillow and bandages it. What will happen to it next is only a matter of time. Even if the wing is restored, it can no longer be returned to the nest. It would be better if his new friend took care of him. The brunette stands silently nearby, but decides to ask what happened that made the girl refuse to raise him at home. In the past, all the animals that the girl raised died. It was all because of the twins' mistakes. Yeon herself can't even take care of herself, let alone someone else she won't provide him with protection. Smiling, the boy suggests that Beckley's family doesn't have enough servants, and if it's impossible to take care of them yourself, then it's possible to do it with the help of others. But obviously that won't happen. The face is fake, pretense is visible from a mile away, and there is no way to tell the difference now. He starts laughing. The expression his interlocutor is making is too funny. He knew everything and still decided to behave this way. If he knows the truth, it's probably for the best. There's nothing more to say. No need to be overly polite anymore. The rules are canceled. They say that family problems should not be brought out into the open. Besides, Yeon sees Sak Kayak for the first time, because it was he who pestered her in the garden when she was busy with her business. If he is a smart child, he will finally stop asking stupid questions. But now, for some reason, he behaves differently. It seems that they will become good friends. The brunette still does not understand what is happening to him, because his behavior is very different from a normal person. The lady went home, sitting in the carriage. She holds a box. She was given a gift as a sign of friendship. As a result, she received beautiful pink peonies. This character never appeared in his past life. There was no mention of him in the novel. Obviously, he was not important enough to warrant a description. It's suspicious, but most likely the hero is not bad. Although suspicious enough so that the flowers would not spoil along the way, the girl put them in a box where there is less air. The beauty had her own plan, which she considered good. First, she would decorate her father's room with one peony and send the second one to her room to put on the table. She would like to dry the last flower to make a new incense from it. In her head, the little girl imagined how her grandfather would take away another gift. The maiden returned to the residence of her clan. Screams were heard there. The guards did not know what their guest was hiding, and he was outraged by such terrible hospitality. The man in the dark shouts that they might try to throw him out, but it's unlikely that they'll succeed. His name is Nam Gung. He's the young master of a family that's one of the 10 great families in the country of Murimi. He is the biological father of Nam Gung Ryujong, the main character of this novel. He is the one to blame for the death of the girl's father. She remembers well how things were in the past. I would like to know his bad intentions. It is not clear what he forgot in this place. Approaching from behind, the little girl asks what a guy she does not know forgot here. Now Baekleon still doesn't suspect who is in front of her. She is still the same daughter of her father, so she greets the servant, orders the lady not to interfere. Turning back to Namgun, the man shouts at him to get out of here. On his own land, he is extremely harsh and confident. But if he were in a different situation, everything would be much worse. Andu wanted to say something, thereby making it clear who was in front of them, but he was forced to shut up. For some reason, the brunette did not want his identity to be revealed. He has an invitation, but the rude people won't let him in until he's identified himself. They don't have the right to let him in. It seems they've shut the servant's mouth with their ability. The girl quickly put two and two together, so she holds out her palm, suggesting that she check the invitation letter. This is a problem, but it can be quickly solved if the guards call her father, but they are dragging their feet. Obviously, the handwriting on the sheet is ikanas, and a regular invitation is no different. It is anonymous, but the seal is as it should be. Everything is according to the rules, nothing will happen, permission can be given. Throwing the bundle aside, the girl nods. The behavior of this little girl is no different from the elder Beck Lee. It is impossible to hold back laughter. The guards refuse again. There are currently no places in the reception area. The young gentleman is absent. It is impossible to let into the residence without the owner. Inside, that same nasty feeling appeared that makes you shrink, the girl. Remembers how she thought that she heard her father in the garden. Andu promises that he will go inside and find out everything, and in the meantime, they will wait for him outside. It's not really a big deal, but if the man is in Seoktae's estate, then the uneasy feeling should go away, rather than putting even more pressure on him from above. Nam Gung is also invited, but he shakes his head. He won't go in since his friend isn't there. It's better to wait alone. The girl wants to keep him company. There is silence near the gate because, obviously, the man does not intend to speak in his past life. He does not remember the hero coming at this time. Perhaps it was not known again because of the concealment of identity. For some reason, it seems that the beauty has forgotten a lot more besides this. And unfortunately, this will not be restored to her memory. The man starts a conversation asking about the box. Showing beautifully colored peonies, the beauty says that they were given to her by a new acquaintance whom she met just today. The girl retells her plans about what she wants to do with these flowers. Her father's birthday is coming soon because of her. He will be busy and there will be no celebration. They said that he will even refuse all the gifts. The brunette still doesn't want to leave the guy with nothing he deserves the best, so she will please him with at least something. Maybe having a daughter wasn't such a bad idea. Now the lady understood what was going on. Nam Gung came just in honor of the holiday, since he didn't want to leave the man all alone. That day, a fierce battle began with a father who stubbornly refused gifts. Perhaps this served as a starting point for death in the future. Looking straight into his eyes, the beauty asks if he is really her dad's friend. She has some kind of request, but it is not yet fully formulated. The girl has no idea what to say or what words to choose to prevent something terrible. What a coincidence it is that the young man came here. With a rather nervous smile on her face, the beauty assumed that the only way was to behave as nicely as possible. Unfortunately, she had no other option. No longer holding back, the brunette begins to laugh heartily, while the beauty worries about what is happening. It seems that she did something wrong, as if something is not right. The man would never have thought that he would meet a robber at the gate of Bayakli. The girl is incredibly ashamed. She just asked a question about the gift to her father. The reaction should have been different. If he does this and gives something valuable, it would be nice to get something in return. The little girl said she would make incense. She could make one for him too. In that case, Nam Gung will bring Yikang a gift. No matter what happens, he asks about embroidery. Too many unnecessary questions throw him off track. And yet it must be something made by the hands of a child. The man will ask about this a little later, when he thinks of what he needs. It will be done only at least because he was robbed. The heroine knows how to beg, but it really will take a lot of time. The man laughs. He doesn't care. He can wait as long as he wants. It doesn't apply to him at all. Simply not being given a choice, the beauty asks to give her father the gift, and not to get angry if he refuses to accept it. Of course, the guy does not go back on his words. Nam Gung is obliged to treat it with all understanding. Even if she is careless already, about to put his hand on his head, the young man freezes. He hears how the voice is indignant, that the stupid girl came too. Yan said that she couldn't sit in class because of illness, but now she was fine. The twins got out of the carriage smiling as much as possible. The kids are out of their minds to start such a fight right in front of Nam Gung. The only option is that they simply didn't recognize him. That's why they got so rowdy. The boy asks, what is inside the box? Learning that there are flowers, he asks why she doesn't open the box. He orders her to give him the bouquet, or whatever is inside. Of course, Bekli Pyo doesn't see a problem. That's right. Why put something so unimportant in the box? Sovak suggests that they are beautiful, but one of them definitely didn't like this answer. There is something unpleasant in there. One of them snorts rudely. It would be wrong to say something like that. It would be ideal to give at least one thing to Lily. She felt bad today and didn't go to school. And doing a good deed would be much more important than anything else. The evil intentions of the twins are clearly visible, who confidently demand that everything be returned to them. Myung appeared from behind, saying that the brothers were putting too much pressure on her, but the girl probably understood what was going on, so she shouldn't be such a greedy person. She didn't need it. She needed to behave better and be kinder. Good things need to be shared with those around you, and especially with your family. The brunette tries to smile, but it's hard for her to do so. She sensed a threat as soon as she encountered them. There is nothing complicated about it. The lady is about to give away one peony, and it falls to the ground. One of the guys steps on it, with his foot saying that he was too clumsy. That's why it was worth giving the flowers right away, so that nothing would happen. The guys order to give another one, and then another. Everything continues, more and more flowers fly to the ground and break. They are stepped on. There is one more copy left, which they also ask to give back, so that in the end, everything will be exactly as they want. Nam Gung no longer wants to look at this, abruptly closing the box with his hand. Yan doesn't want this to continue, so he hands over his gift. Ak and Pyo said that you will give the peony to Lily now that it's inside. Even if you step on it or drop it, nothing will happen. The boys are angry. Their cheeks even turn bright red, just because of how the situation is escalating. They should have done this from the very beginning, but it's the girl's fault that she didn't think of it. For Vaughn, this girl from the outside strongly resembles his friend Myung. Laughs thanks to Yoni. She is kind but then leaves. The brunette does not understand why he was stopped. This should not have been done. The brunette chuckled. She realized that the man didn't want his identity to be revealed, so she didn't want to ruin his plan. She knew how this could all turn out. Nam Gung looks closely at the child standing next to him. For some reason, his friend's precious daughter is enduring all this naturally, as if it is not a problem for her. The girl had a dream. Her father arrived late because he was arguing with his uncle about ordinary things. A dream in which, without receiving help, the boy died. He knew that something like this was waiting for him. It doesn't matter, because such a scene didn't even exist in the original story. The lady hears how someone is trying to make her get up. She only spins in her sleep, asking to be left alone. The girl jumps up. The servant apologizes for doing it so early, but he was asked to do it this way. It seemed to him that she was having a nightmare, so leaving everything as it was not in his plans. As for the outcome in the end, Nam Gung Wan couldn't control his temper and was exposed if he was going to behave like that. He should have warned him right away, so as not to hide it. Even so, it was impossible to get angry. The situation refreshed life. As soon as the girl returned home, she immediately fell asleep as if she had fainted. Now, it's clear why it's worth returning from classes early. There's not always enough strength for basic needs, and too many tasks pile up at once. A voice is heard who would have thought that a person would be beaten with a bamboo stick. Such rudeness is encountered for the first time. It's good that everything stopped in time. The girl woke up for only one reason. She realized that her friends were arguing, blaming each other for how everything ended for them. If the death flag hanging over her father is not destroyed, the situation will end terribly. And the little girl bursts into the room, asking that Nam Gung Wan not be so strict. As the maiden said, she still doesn't know the cause of death, and Kang is also to blame. He didn't write in the letter that such an important guest would be coming to them, and thus ignored him. If the man had said that Wang was coming to visit them, the shabby uncle would not have alerted the guards near the estate. But as it was, they did not know how to behave. It can be concluded that Beckley Sr. is to blame for everything. Since this is really the case, there will be nothing left but to dig up everything suspicious in the area. The little girl asks not to quarrel. When she opens her eyes, she realizes that her father is hugging her. He asks why her face is so pale, assuming that a nightmare is to blame. The brunette asks for forgiveness, doing it sincerely. He did not appear in the best light to the girl. In fact, the guards were also punished, so there is nothing to worry about. Nam Gung speaks up if a 3-month salary cut and a 15-day probation period is considered something terrible. Then he agrees that it is right. Disgust can be heard in his voice. The little girl realized what had angered her uncle, and Khan suggested that they end it there. Perhaps this could all be called going too far. Allowing the topic to change now is an end that cannot be avoided. Asking if it is strange, the child notices the disrespectful attitude towards Nam Gung. They should have known that they would be punished as soon as Yi Kang returned. They couldn't have been so stupid as to kick out a person with a personal invitation. Something doesn't add up. As a conscientious person, Beck Lee is not interested in the behind-the-scenes intrigues. They somehow found out who the guest from Murim was and decided to stop him. The girl and the man's gaze met, chuckling. He says that he thought that even his friend's daughter would disappoint him too, but she is not that simple. The brunette gives Van a strange look, and Van immediately nervously suggests, since they have already met, he will give a gift. It's great that father and daughter are reunited, now they need to talk. Uncle, as it turned out, was also not strong in arguments. As a result, the beauty received a dagger as a gift. Nam Gung initially laughed when he heard about the rumors about his daughter. He thought that someone envious of Yi Kang's reputation was using this to bring down his status, which would be quite logical considering all the man's merits. Having received a letter from a friend, Van reread it every time, and every time he could not believe it was real. During the journey, the situation did not change one bit. Nam Gung only came because the man asked for help, but Yoni was right. The man was rude to him, and for that he quickly apologizes. The girl can be considered a smart child. It is a great loss that the core of the yaki is completely destroyed. Having received a letter from a friend checked that man, the healer of all things, and learned of his whereabouts. The passing of nameplates has a special meaning for martial artists. It is a promise of absolute honor, a pledge that one will help another, no matter the reason or the cost. With this tablet, even the healer of all things has no choice but to heal the man's daughter. He will definitely help her, and then life will be good again. The brunette looks at the thing. It's hard for him to believe. But if it's true, Yanni finally has a chance. This tablet doesn't belong to Nam Gung. It's impossible to deceive the eye. The gift belongs to a friend's father, but he can't refuse it. The man didn't think that one day would come when he would have to use the tablet while the healer of all things was in hiding. If the doctor disappears again, it is not clear when it will have to be used again. Permission was received from the head of the Wang family. It will not be possible to simply give it away. Either the young man will ask for a favor concerning his son, Ryu Cheng. The twins laugh as they throw the box. This piece of junk has been hanging around with the same useless things as herself lately. It's all annoying. The beauty probably thinks she's a member of Baek Lee's family, but that will never be true. Myung asks about that guard in the bamboo hat. The guard's denunciation won't cause much trouble, but there he is for sure. Yes. It turned out that it was not a servant. Yeon came to school with a servant and an uncle. He is a guest, but did not even get inside the boys. Do not care what people say. It is the guy's job to fix the situation. He hopes that they will stop bullying him. Ak is the first to almost refuse. The only thing he wants is for the girl not to show off in front of them. It's her fault since she's hanging around. Mayung tries to calm down. He's the only one who's overwrought himself. Baek Lee's house is bustling with life. Nam Gung introduces himself. Making Yimuk happy, he looks happy for no reason. Of course, it's a pity that Nam Gung Mucheol or the previous alliance leader didn't come, but at least their son will also come. The brunette apologizes that he wasn't received properly due to the urgent preparation. And Khan made such useful connections himself. It's just funny if the man hadn't bribed the guards. He would have had no idea that such a person had arrived. Sitting down at the table, beautifully laid with a variety of dishes, the young man begins a conversation. He heard that problems had arisen. The knights had been rude to Vaughn. The man looks angry. Yimuka assures that it was just a misunderstanding. After he found out, he immediately punished them. So it's better to calm down. Yikong told something like that. But that's not all. Shortly before dinner, the guards were driven out. They will not be able to set foot on the territory of the Baek Lee family anymore. The sitting brother asks if this is true. A girl appears in my head with her words about how the knights were unexpectedly disrespectful. They should have understood that as soon as Yikong returned, they would be punished. The two exchange glances. They understood what was going on. The servant announces the arrival of Yiran, who apologizes for being late. The children pestered her with news that Wang had arrived, and she wanted to greet him. Since the great master is not going anywhere, Yimuka takes on the role of introducing the children with his son on the left and his daughter, who is still a little shy, on the right. Myung bows his head, introducing his name himself. Next to them are the twins. On the left is Suak, and on the right is Baek Lee Pyo. A dark atmosphere hangs for some reason. Nam Gung is angry again, and Ron decides to try to fix the situation. She heard that the hero has a son named Ryu Cheng. Rumors have already spread that he is just a miracle, a gifted child. It would be great if the children had a chance to meet and become close friends. The guy snorts. His boy only hangs out with those who are on the same level as him in strength and upbringing. Brother Yi Kong starts to worry. He realized that the situation is getting worse. Although it seemed like everything would be fine, the man just rejected the children. The sister laughs nervously. Apparently that young man is really outstanding. The brunette must be incredibly proud, which is logical in principle. The woman grabs the twins. They are also studying hard. Soon they will reach the third rank of the divine art. Nam Gung looks at him attentively, and then looks away, as if mockingly, which causes a strong reaction from those around him. He seems to be unimpressed by anything. Baek Lee Muk still hasn't lost hope that they will get out of this awkward situation. It can't be helped because it's impossible to compare with the great master Nam Gung Wan, who reached the highest rank at the age of 20. Still, those children are sincere in their sword skills. A man would be very helpful if he wanted to give some advice. They would definitely be happy, because this is what is really needed at the moment. Myung looks with an attentive gaze, asking for this to happen. He speaks for himself, and the twins, they would forever imprint the instructions. Nam Gung, instead of the others, turns to Yi Kang. He as a father must try to protect his child. The man didn't even see whether Yanni could lift chopsticks or not. He should go back if he had to worry so much. They were trying to send him away in this way. Of course it made him feel uneasy. Muka intervenes, not understanding at all what he is pushing himself into. He will look after everything his brother can go to his daughter going out on the path. The young man hopes that everything will be okay. There. Then he will ask what happened. Up until this point, Nam Gung Wan had often found himself in similar situations, from small things like meals to big things like gifts of silver and gold. People's wishes are always the same. They all want the support of a great family. The servant shouts, asking what kind of rudeness this is, but he continues with his tirade, looking at Baek Lee. The young man asks if the girl received the flower. The three children freeze in horror, realizing where the conversation is heading. Myung shouts that the baby definitely got a gift. She really liked the peony. The little sister can only nod so as not to let her family down. Nam Gung does not give up. He wants to know what color the peony was. Looking at the garden, the beauty says that such flowers are always white after what was said. The brunette starts laughing, making the others even more embarrassed. He checked what he wanted to know. The gentleman recalls the words of the twins who wanted to give the peonies to their sick sister, who did not even go to school, and Muka tries to calm the guest down and first explain what is what. Instead of following the words, Wang turns to Baek Lee Myung, who asked him to give him some advice. He showed himself to be a rational and wonderful man, being the eldest son of the family he lives in. The guy apologizes for his rudeness, but his father should focus on raising his family properly. If they appear in such a light again, the head's honest name will be ruined. Walking further and stopping near Suaka and Pyo, the brunette mockingly looks straight into their eyes. Their hands can't even hold a flower, let alone a sword. Martial arts are not for them. We can probably end it here. Passing by as if there were ghosts in front of him, the man orders them to never show themselves in front of him again. The guys look like stupid brats, not worthy of his attention. If their behavior does not change, a terrible life awaits them. And Ron screams, asking why the children are being treated like this. But Wang doesn't turn around the next day. The estate is turned upside down. Andu falls to his knees and begs for forgiveness for not being there when the twins did such terrible things. Uncle's influence is simply annoying. He made it so that now all the guy's tricks have surfaced. Trying not to stutter, the brunette assures that everything is fine with her instead of talking. She changes the subject, doing it masterfully. There is an assumption that Nam Gung and Kang had a fight again. The servant would not call it anything like that. There was just a slight difference of opinion for the girl. It means the same thing. Stopping a quarrel with a gift won't work. They can quarrel even more. In the end, the same thing happened only for a different reason. There is a box on the table holding out her hand. The girl freezes inside. There are beautiful pink peonies of such a color. Andu tells that the baby's father went outside last night. He said that he needed to go see Seoktae. I putting two and two together. The heroine smiles and asks where the man is now. The girl was about to go to her father to greet him and thank him. But the way the meeting began immediately threw her off track. For some reason, Sak Kayak was standing in front of her, nodding in a sign of a joyful meeting. 10 minutes later, the two were sitting at a table with a teapot and mugs on it. I had to go inside, even against my own will, but alas, the little girl would not have tried to escape. It was also not possible to go against his father's concerns. The boy declared that he was a close friend of Yoni's, and the man immediately reacted, perhaps even too violently, lighting up with joy. The lady couldn't refuse, and say that in front of her was a man she had met only once. On her way, the brunette brought her out of her thoughts by asking about tea. The beauty was going to drink it, but probably a little later. The lady is quite content with a personal assistant nagging in her ear. Andu always shouts that she needs to take medicine or begs her to go for a walk. Sak Kayak remembers that the lady was once going to the Nam Gung family. The father had already told the truth. The young man believed that in his current state, it was unsafe to go on such trips. But his friend probably had an important reason. Only a person who was aware of everything was allowed to behave like that. Therefore, Seoktae will visit the residence the day after tomorrow. Thanks to this, the girl already hopes that everything is over. But no, Sak Kayak hurries offering to quickly finish the contents of the cup. Tea should not be left aside. This is definitely not the best idea. The beauty drank the contents, realizing that she couldn't get out of it, wiping her face with a napkin. The brunette wondered if the man had come only to announce the arrival of the gentleman. In fact, the lady still feels uncomfortable being around this guy. It's hard to tell what's on his mind. And the fact that he came now is also strange. Such a message can be conveyed through a servant. Smiling, the young man asks what the problem is. He has the right to come simply because he wanted to see his girlfriend. He makes a sad face, stating that, for the first time, he has a first acquaintance, but she pushes him away. The guy behaves even more unusually. They have never become so close. But for some reason, he thinks that this is quite normal. Calling the servant, he asks to bring a flower. A sprout is placed in a vase in front of the table. Sak Kayak heard that yesterday 3 peonies were picked by young master Baek Lee. He entered the courtyard in the middle of the night. It was easy to guess that it was related to his daughter. That was why his friend brought a sapling today, so that he could look at it at any time. Virgo is happy that she was given a gift, but she doesn't quite understand what the point is. It's the first time she's been treated so nicely. The sweet gesture is still a bit of a burden. The twins are still upset about the peonies. Perhaps the servants will be able to take care of the flower well enough. But this cannot be relied upon. The heroine would like to leave for a while. She will not be able to take care of something longer than a week. Unfortunately, she does not even think about it. The boy asks why his friend doesn't look particularly pleased. Only now she realized that it looks rude on her part. In fact, the little girl liked everything. It turned out that there was something else there. Smiling his trademark smile that speaks of something interesting, the young man remembers that on the way here, he saw something that made him happy for the young lady. It will be even better. In the White Hall, there is a defense hearing. The father is sitting in his usual place. The girl is screaming, asking that Nam Gung not be allowed to get away with his behavior. He is an unusually rude person, and it is his own fault that he wanted to say such rude words. The man had no right to be rude and mock the members of Baek Lee's family. Her sons, he told them that such little ones would not be able to hold even a sword in their hands. Not to mention anything else, the children were incredibly offended by this. Without jumping to conclusions, the old man asks why the man did this. He must have had a specific reason, closing her eyes. The beauty states that, of course, she knows this. He did this suddenly. There was no reason. Nam Gung and Kong are the only witnesses, and the guards are the mother's people. Anyway, there are more of them. The girl can insist that Li Yan and Nam Gung agreed on their stories in advance in order to stand against them. Playing innocent is not that hard. This person will not be able to change the situation in his favor. The head asks about the story with the peonies. This is not by chance the children are all bowed in the hall, but Li Yian is not observed. She snitched to her father. The woman screams that these were ordinary flowers. It would be easier to question the guards. Beck Li the younger herself was the first to offer to give them to the children. The guys joked a little. Besides, Nam Gung had no right to interfere in the affairs of the family anyway. This situation is comparable to Wang. Looking down on their family, having such an immoral person in a close relationship is terrible. The old man can't stand it. Jumping up from his seat, he orders to hold his tongue. He could ask the knights, but they immediately confessed everything to Sak Kayak before the leader arrived. The daughter is obliged to remain silent, since her offspring began to behave as if they were allowed to do anything. The man gives 3 options. The first is to send the children away and stay in Baek Li's house herself. The second is to leave with one of them, leaving the second in the estate. And the third, the most terrible, is that all 3 leave without the right to return. The servant interrupts the girl who wants to object. The young lady came into the hall. It's not too late, the beauty thinks when she comes in and says, "Hello." The man yells at her for using his estate as her room. Moreover, she brings someone who was not given permission to enter. The brunette tried to stop Sak Kayak, but in the end he begged too much, and the heroine gave in. After all, since she was already here, it was time to say why she came. She had a new good friend at school. It was he who gave this pot of peony as a gift. The girl wanted to pick up the flower, but it seemed the vase was much bigger. The little girl almost fell, and everything would have happened if it weren't for her brother, who unintentionally supported her. She should have fallen towards her father, but instead fell towards him, and Ran looks menacingly at the boy, asking what he did. The child hides behind the boy's back. At that moment, Myung probably felt it instinctively that at least at that moment, protecting his sister is the right choice to make. The woman can't take it anymore. She loses her temper. The young man had no right to take another person's side right in front of her. The aunt is asked to calm down. Baek Li. Muk steps forward to protect his son from his sister's attacks. The man delivers 2 blows. They are light, but they mean more that after this it is forbidden to move. Then it will take an eternity to calm the lady down, but it will be worth it, because it is impossible to further inflame the father's anger, asking for forgiveness. The brunette says that he was only worried that the girl was winding herself up. It seems that the daughter has not calmed down, yet the head of the family orders to take the beauty to the room so that she can rest. The family is a strong enough weakness of the grandfather. So it is clear that if the woman is really kicked out, in 5 to 10 years, she will return back. Then something needs to be done, so that the situation does not end so easily. The baby is fine. The father left and brought new peonies for his daughter, and the brother was initially more friendly with the twins. It was difficult for him to stop them. Baehyuk has no reason to worry and get angry so much, because even next year, the lady will see flowers. Flowers bloom and fall, so don't rush between happiness and sadness. The child nods and smiles, but she is quickly stopped. She did nothing right either. It is normal that this is how it should be done, but sometimes it is better to fight back. Such behavior is not commendable and not worthy of admiration. In fact, the beauty is no better when it comes to losing the family's authority. The lady thought that she would be yelled at, but now her mission is not her grandfather, no matter what anyone else says. The decision remains unchanged in the main hall. They usually speak based on facts. Baek Lee Myung is told that he better learn from everything that happened. The boy is the target, and it seems like everything went as well as possible. The boy sits in the room with the twins looking at his hands, which are red. Sak Kayak comes in with the girl looking at him with an angry look. Myung asks how the man got here. He is not even a family member to still be in the residence. Assistant Chong asked to pass on something important. There is an ointment in his hands. It should help a little, curing the pain. The grandfather spanked his grandson and imposed a strict ban on going anywhere for the next 6 months. The punishment of the twins, on the contrary, was postponed. Baehyuk left the choice to the aunt. As a result, the man was the only one who was punished. And what's more, he was forbidden to go out. It is difficult to explain this to friends. They will be offended. The most disgusting thing is that the brunette got into this trouble by acting like a real coward. The truth is that the young man did not think to give up something that belonged to his sister. He could not stop the twins. Coming closer, Jan distracts from his thoughts by carefully starting to wipe his face. The guy is probably in pain. He didn't deserve it, but the beauty is too. They thank the girl for her help. All this time, the hero behaved completely differently from the true Beck Lee. He regrets the past, because in fact, he never wanted to cause pain. Smiling, the main character nods. In fact, everything is fine compared to Yeon, who said that the young man was not guilty. The twins did nothing at all. They just sat quietly to the side, measuring their acquaintance with an evil look. Myung suggests that from now on, they start to improve their relationship as brother and sister. Ak is the first to rush forward with questions, but rather accusations that he decided to start friends with their enemy. Because of this worthless person, they were almost expelled from the family. The man does not like this. Only a little time has passed since Beck Lee's son was locked up, and they still dare to raise their voices at him. All three start arguing with each other. Bad behavior cannot be demonstrated in front of guests, but the twins confidently do it without stopping watching what is happening. The lady almost smiles again, that look filled with darkness. Sak Kayak is also tired of listening to all this swearing, leaning closer to his friend. He suggests leaving this place before leaving the lady is stop shouting that she probably knew about everything, she just decided that she would keep quiet. The girl knew that Nam Gung had visited them, but she didn't tell him anything on purpose, which is why Yoni was so calm that she even gave him the flowers that her friend had given her. Turning around, the brunette smirked. The brothers had never seen such an expression on her face. The lady was almost always quieter than water, lower than grass, honestly admitting she knew about Van. But it didn't matter at all, because now her plan had come into action. Going outside, the girl runs into Sak Kayak, who has gotten a little away from her. The boy wants to know how the heroine managed to use the silent transmission. This has never happened before, and now everything has changed. The strange thing is how it turned out to be beneficial. The man is sure that Yoni doesn't have any key, but he is also sure that he was not mistaken in what he saw as the use of energy. Looking into the heroine's eyes, the young man is distracted. His nose starts bleeding. She used the innate power of chi. This is a natural energy that is given to everyone without exception. It cannot be refused. On the contrary, it is a privilege. The reason why the lady is able to communicate silently is because of a ghost from her past life, the last effort struggle, and the desire to learn martial arts one day. The heroine was able to learn to use the innate energy as an inner strength. Sak Kayak didn't understand the situation, and how would he know considering that they had never met in the past? It was obviously a consequence of her condition. In other words, the innate energy of qi is longevity. If the reserve is exhausted, a person is only facing death. A man catches on too quickly, but you need to continue to deny it until the last. There is no more strength, the baby orders to leave her alone, and not to wipe her nose, having stood all the minutes in calmness. Beck Lee will get what awaits silence. No more questions will be asked. The man looked forward. His gaze was cold and confident, and his voice was firm, as if he was reading the other person's mind, saying that he knew what she was thinking. Yoni turned over her shoulder. Her expression was tense, and her words were harsh, revealing a hidden intention to cause discord. Apparently, she had decided to create a rift with Myungki. The boy looked up. His voice sounded slightly reproachful, but he tried to remain calm. He reminded her of friendship, promising to keep the secret. The girl tensed up. Her thoughts were full of doubts she could not trust completely. Then, he restrainedly asked for a favor, looking at her with hope. The sky was clear, and a warm wind stirred the roofs of the ancient buildings. His voice sounded hopeful when he asked if she would write to him, often even being far away inside herself. The main character struggled with doubts, not wanting to be inactive, while the future depended on other people's decisions and her possible departure. Her aunt could think longer. This would only add problems. Beck Lee felt excited about the upcoming trip, understanding why her father insisted on her going to the Nam Gung family. A man who was once a famous doctor 10 years ago decided to hide from the world and vowed to avoid contact with people, although before that he was a miracle worker, saving even the most neglected cases. The destination was determined, the Nam Gung family, but before that, it was planned to stop at the doctor's to take care of the treatment. Thoughts returned to the past life, where she was so close to success, but missed this chance. Now Yi Yon is determined to correct the mistakes of the past. She clenched her hands mentally, reminding herself that she could not miss her chance again. Her gaze stopped at the simple luggage, but her thoughts again returned to the important matter. Holding back a sigh, the beauty acknowledged the need to reduce the number of those who would learn about the doctor, maintaining extreme caution. The girl sits down on a bench to rest a bit. Myung comes towards her, trying not to look like something is wrong. He notices that they haven't seen each other for quite a while. More than a week has passed since that conversation. The girl sat with a puzzled expression on her face, watching the approaching man, thoughts rushing through her head. What was wrong with his face? At this time, rumors were ringing in her head that her aunt and her twins were causing trouble for the family, and she couldn't help but try to find out if it was true. Most likely yes, considering the situation. The beauty looked at her brother, who asked her in a reserved manner if she was heading to Nam Gung. The answer was short but confident. Later thinking, she recalled the words that they would meet him halfway. The gentleman had foreseen this meeting in advance, leaving her slightly confused. Bayek Lee Jr. calmly said that he understood her intentions. Then softening his tone, slightly added that he knew how well her uncle took care of her, but still reminded her not to forget about her own well-being. His words sounded sincere, with a note of concern, emphasizing his worries for her. Her consciousness returned to the past. She sadly realized that then she could not even imagine such a warm farewell. But now looking forward, she hoped that everything would go according to plan. Slight excitement was reflected in her eyes, but she tried to remain confident. The man spoke with noticeable embarrassment, remembering his awkwardness in front of Mr. Nam Gung. He asked to convey his gratitude to the head and told how passionately he admired him and that he did not want to do something wrong, appearing in a bad light. For a moment, he was silent, dreaming of running away from here with this man, but only sighed sadly. The boy holds out something in a beautiful package in his hands. The item had a special meaning, and Lee Yi-muk asked him to pass it on. The girl takes back her words. She no longer wants to run away so quickly. It was worth listening to the ranting. Of course, the little girl will pass on all the words, as is. This child has experienced the taste of capitalism in all its glory. Finally, they got into the carriage. The door decorated with an elegant pattern, the beginning of the journey to the legendary healer. It was supposed to be, even not everything was so important. The beauty sighed heavily, feeling tired. Her gaze slid to the box in the carriage, but her thoughts were about something else. Her patience was running out, and she no longer had the strength to stay in place. She held the pouch of incense that had been given to her at the request of Mr. Wang in her hands. With a concentrated expression, a resolute promise sounded in her mind. She had to finish her work before they arrived. Her gaze was full of determination, and her movements were swift, as if time was dragging on against her. Half a day passed, and the situation in the carriage became tense. Yanni sat exhausted and weak. Her head was spinning. There was no question of incense. She could barely breathe, whispering in despair that she was dying. Impotence came soon enough. The girl sat with her head down, exhausted, with a drop of blood on her lips, her gaze expressing even greater despair, and her consciousness was full of reproaches. For her useless body, she thought with regret that it was worth asking Sak Kayak for a cure for motion sickness. Weakness only increased her irritation with herself. Opening her eyes, the beauty sees a faint outline of a human face, lying in the arms of a man. She weakly whispers a question addressed to her father. Her voice is quiet, as if afraid to interrupt the warm silence around her. The man, leaning closer, calms her down, offering to relax and not worry about anything. The journey lasted for several days, replacing the monotony of the path. With fatigue waking up, Yeon felt a slight confusion. Her gaze fell on an unfamiliar ceiling. Her thoughts were full of questions, reflecting bewilderment, and an attempt to understand where she was and what awaited her next. Her gaze lingers on the hands that support her thoughts rushing through her. Could it be that he was holding her hand like this all this time? She slowly looks up, meeting the calm expression on his face. A light surrounds them, as if emphasizing the significance of this moment, which will forever remain in her memory. Restoring his stamina and pouring chi energy into his body, the young man hoped that it would help his daughter, and it seemed that everything worked, because she woke up not completely tired after a long journey, looking into her eyes. The hero smiled as warmly as possible, showing all his love. Since the girl has woken up, it is time to eat a little. It is dinner time, which is not advisable to miss, given her state of health. It seems that the two are in the hotel, where they are temporarily staying, assuming that it is better to serve food in the room. The young man hears a sharp refusal. The little girl does not want anything to disturb the peace. The brunette is talking excitedly about how, of course, it would be better to eat downstairs all this time. She was sitting locked in the cart, and now it would be nice to breathe some fresh air. Then they will return back again and rest. But before that, something like this is something mandatory. Young Mr. Buck Lee comes down. Everyone in the hall greets him. Shim Ji Pyong smiles. He is the adjutant of the family. Therefore, accordingly, he comes forward first. It seems that the beauty is already better. She has rested and will not feel worse anymore. Walking to the table, the hero hears how he is asked to tell what they want to eat today. Nodding, the brunette asks to bring something simple but satisfying, so that later there will be strength and rest. Since the daughter is not feeling very well, it is better to bring her porridge. In fact, this is really the most ideal option that can be thought of. The little girl makes a sweet face and says in a thin voice that she wants to try some dumplings. Of course, she knows that it is bad for the stomach, but this does not mean that there is no more desire. Looking into the eyes, the hero eventually gives in. He exhales, asking for another portion of the dish to be brought in, the hope that the girl will eat a little. After a while, all the dishes they wanted to try appeared on the table, seeing the man's sword. One can assume that he is a master of the Gango martial arts, which are considered extremely rare in their unity. The child jumps up in place, wondering if her father impressed those gathered in the hall. They will definitely recognize him as soon as they hear a familiar name. One of the waiters laughs. Since the young man is so famous, it means he knows how to use a weapon. In that case, there is no need to worry. And since the group is large, this is considered an additional advantage. A note of fear appears on his face when the man finishes his line. Still, it is worth being extremely careful, even if not everything goes exactly as you want. In the last few days, several more children have disappeared in their village. The brunette sadly lowers her gaze, although in fact she is glad that she managed to ask to go to this place. This incident also happened in a past life, so she remembers it well. What happened was one of the decisive factors why the girl could not receive treatment from the healer of all that is. The waitress asks not to worry too much because the guests will only stay for one night. But if they want to be safe, they must remain on guard. Her job is to warn, that's all. The heroine in dark clothes, with a soft smile, addresses the little girl, asking if the recent situation has frightened her. The voice sounds polite but slightly worried. The girl, beaming with joy, energetically answers that not at all, assuring everyone that she feels completely safe because her father is nearby. He will always come to the rescue and protect. The woman nods, in which case she is calm, in fact. I want to note how nice it is to see a warm relationship between a father and daughter. But as soon as the lady has time to finish, the voice of another man is heard in the hall. His confident tone and stern expression attract attention. He, almost without raising his head, asks to bring him a cup. The young girl looks at the man with joy, addressing him with trepidation as Mr. Wang. She is clearly pleased with his arrival. Her face glows with joy. The young man maintains a stern look, stating that he is already aware of the current situation. His calmness emphasizes the confidence in his actions. There is no need to explain again. Nam Gung speaks with a gloomy expression as he speaks anxiously. About 40 children have disappeared. And if you include those from poor families, the number becomes frightening. There is pain in his voice. The awareness of the gravity of the situation seems to be pressing on the surrounding space. Something like this has never happened before, but now the worries are inevitably spreading. In the past, the man could not come to terms with what had happened. This event left a deep wound in his soul. Thoughts about the missing children did not give him peace. He did not allow himself to miss a single second, knowing that time was playing against them. For the girl, memories of the past were also painful. She felt that she could help change the course of events. do what she could not do. Then the man was constantly next to his daughter, not knowing when the doctor would disappear again. The main character's face became stern. His voice sounded clear when he ordered to go upstairs, leaving no room for objections. The child, looking offended, could not believe that she was being left alone at the table. Thin eyebrows frowned and a cry of protest. A short, "No," expressed the whole character this time. Everything will be different. The little girl, with childish stubbornness, declares that she will not go anywhere. She specially went downstairs to scout out the situation, but no one knows about it. Her fear of being left alone breaks out, and she looks at her father almost in despair. The words contradict the recent statement of courage, which causes mixed feelings in Nam Gung. He himself heard the words sitting next to her on a chair. The man, with a cold gaze, gently reproaches the girl, advising her to come up with a more plausible excuse because the words are completely meaningless. Yanni, slightly confused, tries to say something else. Soon she proudly declares that she was not afraid because her father and Mr. Wang are nearby. But this is only while they are in the hall. A young man in an elegant suit enters the room, looking sternly at those present. His name is Ak Jun. He, the child pressing her hands to the table, ponders his words in confusion. Anxiety is growing inside. She seems to remember that this is a genius from the great Ak family, famous as a musician. The young man, gesturing joyfully, loudly, declares his search, not hiding his surprise and admiration. From the unexpected meeting, he remembers how Mr. So-yan told about the man he had a chance to see. The surprise grows when he notices another acquaintance, as if fate decided to bring them together. He has not seen Yi Kang for a long time. The young lady sat listening attentively to the questions the man asked, who she was, and the father proudly called her his daughter, causing admiration. Jun. He immediately began to stroke the child's head, surprised to note how fragile the baby looked, and asking about her age. The heroine quietly answered that she was only 6, embarrassedly lowering her eyes. Nam Gung, bending down, draws attention to the awkward movements of his comrade, stroking the girl's head. His gaze is full of sarcasm, and the remark, uttered with slight irritation, directly points to the awkwardness of the gesture. He does not understand what he is doing in response. He only embarrassedly retreats, trying to hide the awkwardness of the moment. The hero, struck by the unexpected discovery, declares his disappointment. He cannot understand how his friend, hiding such an important fact, turned out to be the father of a 6-year-old girl. Indignant, June asks a question that confused everyone. When did he manage to get married and start a family? Rising slightly from the floor, the hero looks from one face to the other, in confusion, wondering what caused such a reaction. They are both literally burning with aggression. The young man tries to justify himself, assuming that he might have said something inappropriate. A quiet comment hangs in the air, hinting at his lack of tact. But the conversation continues in a calm tone. Since Nam Gung asked how the acquaintance got there, of course the acquaintance did not hold back and launched into a story with excitement. He begins to ask his interlocutors about a mysterious temple called Sohesa. Not knowing about it is a normal phenomenon. The man also heard about it for the first time, but the children who disappeared there were too many of them. Ak Jun, smiling broadly, addresses his interlocutors, telling them that the Murim Union has entrusted them with an important mission. To find the missing boys, his enthusiasm is emphasized by bright intonations and sincere interest in response. He receives a question about whether he went alone, to which he calmly clarifies that the group consists of 4 people. That's how it should be. Only Mr. Yi Kang was known for his amazing abilities that allowed him to travel alone. His daughter, looking at him with admiration, did not hide her delight, and the acquaintance next to her added with a smile that this was possible thanks to how beautiful he was. The young man, slightly squinting, says reproachfully, "If he starts talking about the exploits of the gentleman, the whole night won't be enough." The words sound with a hint of admiration, but the man standing nearby in blue robes answers calmly, as if cutting him off. There is no point in stirring up the past, and there's no point in chatting about all sorts of nonsense again. Something else is important now. Junhee talks about his visit to the tavern with a casual smile, focusing on the pork dish, his genuine animation clashing with the indifference of his interlocutor, who looks away impatiently. He asks if he is even listening, irritated by the lack of attention. Raising his hand sharply and begging to give him a second, the young man immediately rushed to the stalls, disappearing into the crowd, returning with a satisfied smile. He handed his companions shashlik beaming with happiness. But Nam Gung frowned, throwing out discontentedly that he was just wasting time. He thought that something urgent had appeared, and his friend rushed off for strawberries and caramel. Coming closer to Yi Kong and his daughter, the man hands the girl a treat, trying to please her. His bright expression shows how pleased he is with his gift. Nam Gung, standing next to him, still watches the scene with restraint, expressing slight gratitude for the attention. He confidently adds that children love such treats. The girl flies to heaven with happiness. As soon as she tries the treat, it is too good to be true. She asks her father to try what was brought to them as a treat. Beck Lee has no choice, so he carefully bites into the strawberry, immediately wincing. The snack is too sweet for him, but still edible. The two standing there see the gentleman from this side for the first time. Wang turns to Jun. He asks where his food is because of his friend. He couldn't have dinner, and now they didn't even buy him one. The guy apologizes and immediately runs away to quickly return back. The brunette realized that there was something here that she could do. The little girl held out a strawberry. It turned out to be sweet and sour at the same time, just right for a snack. Walking forward between the colorful trading tents the group goes to, where the light pine sect is located, they provide shelter and food for the near future. The door is opened by Bok Chae-on, who asks where his friend has been all this time, looking at the others. He frowns, but the student only asks where the deputy head is. Without permission, he won't be able to let strangers in. These are old friends from Murm, who came to help. Another man comes out to meet him, who immediately attacks the boy, reminding him that he needs to respond normally when he is wanted and not disappear without a reason. It turned out that he didn't say where he was going. Although he thought everything was fine, in order to save himself from another portion of curses, the young man asked to look to the side. Their guests are there. Tan So Yun still doesn't change in horror. He suddenly lets go of his hand, jumping to the side. He quietly asks if it's really those who are visible in front of him. This definitely couldn't be expected under any circumstances. Once he was the leader of the mission that Muram sent them on, it is perhaps impossible to forget something like that. So it will forever remain in every heart, and so it will be. Im Jo-wook welcomes the guests. He doesn't know how it happened, but he is immensely grateful that great people visited their Yingzong clan, something to be proud of. The leader, unfortunately, is not feeling well now, which is why someone else is greeting them. Everything is probably fine. Nam Gung nods, remaining in the hope that he will recover very soon, and everything will be fine. The Yingzong clan sincerely wants to find out the reason for the missing people. The elder is bedridden, so they have no right to take action, which can be said to be a great insult to them. They can only thank for the alliance with Muram, which was nevertheless proposed. Not so long ago, it is a great joy for them. Im Jo-wook is asked to tell what the situation is at the moment, and he only nods in agreement. At first, only a couple of children from beggars disappeared. It seemed that there was absolutely nothing wrong with this for them. This phenomenon was normal, so everyone decided that they died or went to beg in a more profitable place. At one point, children of ordinary people, who had parents, also began to disappear one after another. People realized that something was wrong and began asking around to get to the bottom of the truth. And then it became clear about the poor people too. Exactly 1 year has passed. If you count the newborns, then about 50 children have disappeared. This number is impermissibly large and probably even more frightening than one could imagine. Now, houses where there are children are locked immediately after sunset, and they are not let out under any circumstances. But even after parents introduced such strict supervision, children still continued to disappear without a trace. The government told them not to make a noise so as not to scare others. So they went to the point where they had to ask for help from the Muram Union, which is considered the last hope for the defenseless children and their families who are afraid. The rest of the squad returned. Byuk Song-yul and Ma Hai-hyang from Azure City entered the room. It was a great honor for them to meet such guests. It must have been a long-time dream for everyone. Nam Gung looks, trying to remember them, but comes to the conclusion that he is seeing these faces for the first time. Yi Kang smiles, pointing at his daughter, and introducing her too. The little girl nods, stretching her arms forward in greeting. This is Songyul's first appearance as a disciple of Gor Hyun. He is currently on his first mission in his life. The girl with the big eyes standing next to him is still trying to digest the information she heard. And Kang is calm. Everyone has their first mission, and that's what they should get. It's better to just act as calmly as possible, and according to what they were taught in the training. Even if something unexpected happens, you can always rely on Tan. So Yan. Nodding, he says that he is glad to hear himself praised, promising that everything will be fine. He did ask for help, but did not expect the Murim Union to respond so quickly, being concerned about this problem, who probably came now thinking about what to do next. Turning away, Nam Gung explains that there was a misunderstanding. They are not here because they were sent. In fact, the reason is slightly different. But it is obvious that the receiving party accidentally made a mistake. They were on their way to the right place and were just passing time. And when they met Jun, they simply asked if they needed help. It turned out that it was true, so they had to agree to discuss. With all due respect, the chief says that seeing how the investigation is progressing now, it seems to him that the juniors can handle it on their own, and Yikong thinks the same thing. They are going to leave. The man seemed rude, but he should be explained again what was going on. His daughter was unwell, so they set out on a journey for the sake of her healing. It could not be delayed any longer, so there was still hope for understandings. The brunette, closing her eyes, exhales. She sees what is happening now, and cannot resist in any way in the past. Her father also compromised his principles, just for her realizing that the child needed help. The leader speaks first. He had no idea that the young lady was unwell. In the end, we can agree that everything is fine. This was their task from the beginning, so they will not ask for more regarding the mission. For a parent, there is nothing more important than their family. This is not a problem to worry about. Everything will be fine. Yikang nods, thankful that they did not put a spoke in their wheels. Byuk Sung-yul is silent, but then says something that causes a strong reaction from those around him. He asks to stay for a day and teach techniques to help. A little Junhai quietly asks what kind of teachings he is talking about. The Sunbays are just being burdened. They should be grateful for just coming. It's lucky that the guys are here. If it weren't for them, the elders would have been caught off guard. We can pay back later. Now we'd just like to chat and finally let the guests go to rest. There will be no way to return the debt so easily. Although, of course, this is all an exaggeration, or something more like a ridiculous joke. If so, it is time to go. Getting up from the table, the heroes thank for the hospitality. The girl grabs her father's robe with her hand, thereby stopping him. She assures him that everything is fine with her, and asks him to continue investigating this case, because it will probably be easier for everyone, which is really the most important thing now. If they just leave now, the lives of the promising juniors who are here will be in danger. This is exactly how it was in the novel. Moreover, this is a murder case committed by the infamous evil ghosts. Nam Gung yells at Yan. It's as if she hadn't been listening to the conversation all this time. They don't want to listen to her, even after her request. Jun. He raises his hand up, suggesting that they still do it, so that the beauty has the right to speak out, because now it's no less important. This man in the past left the world of the living quite soon. People whispered, saying how much more they expected from him, and he found himself involved in a case that was progressing. The situation with the remaining three was not much better. All of them could not wield a sword, except for Tan. So Yan, luckily, Nam Gung intervened later, and was able to save them. However, they missed the criminal, and he continues to wander the streets unpunished. This case is just a side story to highlight the villain's wickedness. Using the cure of the disease as an excuse, it has become nothing more than a way to show the protagonist's ill-fated relationship with the villain passed down from generation to generation before them. The girl is pressing on a sore spot. She heard that her father never turned away from people who needed help in his entire life. She always thought that she wanted to be like him, so she needs it to be true. Ignoring now those who are facing difficulties only because the daughter's problem is more important. The man makes it so that the girl no longer wants to be like him. The path of failure, in order to settle this matter in the past, Nam Gung Wan eventually separated from the group. And even after the healer of all that is saw the nameplate, he still refused the protagonist's request. Already under the weight of guilt from the inability to save the children, from the fact that he was unable to bring Van, the man's torment only worsened, and this time the traces of the doctor were lost again. It was only once, and yet the girl still sees a face full of regret for neglecting the cry of her own soul. Of course, finding a doctor is also important, but in this life, the girl wants her father to experience the same regrets. Van can't hold back, he shouts, asking his friend to say at least something, considering that it is his daughter standing in front of him and not someone else over whom he has absolutely no influence. The man waves his hand, moving closer to the child. He knows he shouldn't do this for the good of the baby, but he's happy that in the end the right path was chosen, which only means that everything will be fine. The brunette standing behind snorted. He certainly didn't like this. They had no right to regret it later. And now they were behaving like a real family with the same principles. At night, Yan woke up because of the sounds coming from the street going out there. She meets Yikong. She does not understand what is happening here. But when she asks, he only asks her to go back to get a good rest. Bok Che-on is dead. That's what others are saying. The great master Nam Gung and the elders of the Murim Alliance will have to investigate this matter. So it's better to calm down. The girl froze in horror. She can't help but agree that this is all incredibly strange, because that person was the most capable of them all. There was no way a disciple of the Yingzong clan could die like this. Not even half a day had passed. This was frightening in the past. This matter had not progressed so quickly. It's all because her father and Van decided to stay. The girl screams that she won't go anywhere, asking where her uncle is. All three are in the forest near the body. It is already cold. There is darkness around. He was killed with one blow. The wound was not from a sword. It was not even from a blunt weapon. The man died, without even knowing that he had been ambushed. The fact that the martial artist died without even having time to draw his sword, having been attacked head-on, seems strange to Nam Gung. Zhen He and He Jian looked around. They found no trace of another person, just an ordinary forest. At this stage, we can say that there was no reason to come here. The man didn't even tell his comrades. The boy could have been killed by someone he knew. Something dawned on him. The young man had probably seen such a wound before. Tan So Yeon is thrown aside just in time as the deputy chief attacks from behind, drawing his weapon. Wang sits down in front, also drawing his sword, red liquid coming out of his mouth from the impact with the ground. The clan members gathered behind him and asked what the guy was doing. Junhee and Yixiang stated that they couldn't use martial arts. I can't believe that Wang can't do the same. The poison dissipates strength. They all drank a sip of water on the way here. The girl screams, cursing at the same time. This situation is clearly fatal. You need to think quickly to save yourself. The man chuckled. He had no desire to hear such things from someone whose family uses poisons themselves. Song Yul is attacked. The leader realizes that he should have gotten rid of Tang first, but it seems he made one mistake. They all rush forward, but after a few seconds, the guys are lying on the ground next to each other, with two opponents remaining. It seems that everything is about to end, but Yikong, who was not there, initially rushes forward. Nam Gung quickly reports the situation. The problem is the poison, everyone except Tan. So Yan was poisoned earlier. The deputy wants to ask how the man got here. Beckley has the same question. He wanted to kill him then. But apparently, the heavens are indifferent to him, since he is still alive. This is the heavenly restoration. This corpse they have already seen, tearing off the mask. The ghost of the heavenly claw appears before him. 10 years ago, this famous demon kidnapped many children in the ancient province he hid in the deep forest. In the midst of the nightmare, a hero appeared, whose appearance was a divine grace. And on that day, the demon received a mortal wound. Somehow the man managed to survive. Even given all the circumstances, it seems impossible. Turning to Soyeon, the standing brunette asks, to try to dispel the poison that was used. The process requires breathing techniques. The girl will not be able to help. Everything depends on the degree of poisoning, but she will try not to exceed the maximum limit. The ghost laughs. Someone naively believes that he will allow the ritual to be performed right under his nose. It's too self-confident, but Yikong still rushes into the attack, understanding what his mission is. Beckley hurriedly pulled the heavenly claw ghost in the opposite direction. It was impossible to do what was needed on the plain. The only chance to lure the boy into the thicket is if there is an advantage. One of the students coughs, while the demon hides behind the branches. Song Yul suddenly disappeared somewhere. I want to hope that he will definitely bring someone to help the victims. And Khan moved forward. The feeling of the enemy's presence disappeared. but he was actually sitting on the branches. As he goes down to attack, the old man recoils. He learns a funny thing about Yeon being sick and feeble-minded. In martial arts, if a person's Diantian is damaged, he will not live, because usually it takes strength even to hold a sword. Baek Lee listens to the air he managed to repel the attack in time, but the words that the girl won't last long only irritate him more. The sword trembles. The spirit wants to kill the enemy, but he dodges. The opportunity's missed, but it could have been used. Nam Gung was healed because he appeared behind the demon, who was jumping up and about to run away. It's still difficult to fight two masters at once, so I'll have to retreat for now to save my life. Junhoo stands up. He feels the positive energy coming from Yeon. She won't complain about such an attitude because she herself sowed it. Everything the beauty did was to make her father and master stay here longer, and in the end, she had to use the trump card that every child has. No matter how much you think the situation is like a miracle. In a dream, the little girl saw the deplorable situation and sent doctors and help. If it weren't for Yang, the group would have died, and they had to cry screaming about the nightmare they had about what was happening in the forest. Even the memories make me blush, but despite everything, the guys had a chance to survive, and that's the most important thing. The assembled discuss Songyul. It would be good if he had not encountered the ghost of the Heavenly Claw. The lady cannot reveal the situation. Even in the novel, he had the role of the fugitive. Baek Lee returned. The girl runs to meet her father immediately, hoping for a hug. It's good that he's okay. Mr. Nam Gung relentlessly pursues the ghost tracks and eventually manages to figure out the hideout. The missing children were supposed to be dead. They came back to deal with the remains. There is one survivor left. Although this has not happened in the past, the boy comes forward. He has already been brought here. The lady holds some snacks that they bought for her. She heard that her father had returned and wanted to give him a try, but he refused. If so, the brunette suggests that her new friend try baked goods from a popular place. The young man is probably injured. The girl feels disoriented, just as she did when she saw her father's wound. The boy's name is Yayul. Usually this character would appear later in the story. Right now, he should be in the ravine of the apostates. That place is some kind of prison for criminals. It is not clear how the baby ended up in the clan's estate. The young man was quiet all this time, never answered questions about his home, and never asked anything in return. There are wounds on the body, quite a lot of them. Some are fresh, but most have already begun to heal. The brunette stumbled so much that she was exposed, and as she walked out, she smiled, pretending to be harmless and innocent. I would like to meet the boy that his father brought, but it seems she interrupted an important conversation. Since the heroine saw the wounds, she brought ointment with her, and now asks to see him in person. The two discuss what to do since they are the same age. Maybe Yayul will open up to Baek Lee the younger. Everything should be fine. If suddenly this child doesn't like the girl, he shouldn't be forced to go for a walk or talk. That's all the brunette asks for. The beauty successfully made her way inside, but her heart still can't calm down. She tries to tell herself that she can handle everything. In order not to repeat the past, it is imperative to find out how Yayul ended up in this place. Not immediately noticing how similar he was to his past self, the lady froze. She had to say something, but it was difficult. The boy made the flower wither with the help of demonic art. The name alone would make any of the righteous faction gnash their teeth. The little girl rushes forward, ordering him not to do this and asking if Yikang knows about it. For this reason, he was locked in a cave and did not receive any help. Unfortunately, this is the reality. Those people from the clan are not aware of anything which is logical. They allowed the boy to set foot on their territory. In his previous life, Yayul had a truly strange obsession with a girl. Perhaps Zhang Guizhou taught the child the demonic art of absorbing stars. If so, it is unclear why. The father comes into the room. He looks sadly, asking if it was so difficult not to interfere. The man noticed the flower. His voice became stern. If the boy had shown it to someone else, he would have been immediately seized. He doesn't intend to stop the hero because he understands that in the end, it won't all end the way he wants. After that, the brunette carried his daughter into the room and said that he wanted to take the child with him. If he wanted to live without using demonic art, he would be given a last chance. He had to tell a lot because if he hid Yayul, the family would be exposed to many risks. The fault was on Ikane because he did not kill the enemy. It would be right if he took full responsibility upon himself, so he would not be ashamed to look his daughter in the eyes. The road leading to the doctor was full of dangers. The heavy rain sometimes subsided, then became even heavier again. Another disaster awaited us at our destination. First of all, we had to inspect the territory. A total of 13 bodies were found, all with stab wounds. The area around the village of Bagua is safe. It is better to expand the search area. The primary task is to find out whether the healer of all things is still alive. There are only 5 children and 8 adults, so there is one less child and one less adult in this place. The girl could not make out their faces, but given the circumstances, one can assume that the healer of all things and the messenger boy are still alive. That is what I would like to think. The man asks if the lady is okay. She just needs to check the house where the doctor lived last time. The place is creepy. The little girl wants to take a little walk, and she is only allowed if she doesn't go too far. Ayul continued to follow the beauty all the way. It's a little strange. In his past life, the doctor always had a boy with him who served him, and they took him with them for a reason. The young man lost his entire family in a landslide and suffered from aphasia. The reason for his disappearance was different from the others. The brunette heard that he hid nearby after the landslide. She should have listened to the story more carefully. It would have helped now. Ayul calls a friend, pointing to a crevice between the roots. There really is a huge hole there. There was a baby inside who was dragged to the clearing. The father checked his condition. It turned out that he had a high temperature. There are also symptoms of dehydration. He was left unattended for more than a day. We need to hurry to the village. Until the baby wakes up, nothing is known. That's how they can find out who attacked the healer of all things. And this village. Earlier, the girl saw medicinal herbs left near the burnt house. She will go and look for them to use. By combining what is needed with the herbs that Yi Kang gives to his daughter, they will be able to open an entire hospital. When the heroine returned, her father was not around, only Ayul, who was looking after the child. Sitting down, the lady turns away. It's time for her to decide how she will treat the guy. Nothing has happened yet. Every time she looks at his face, the little girl feels memories. It seems the young man is used to being left. His mother was often sick. The surprised lady asks if he had a mother, and then realizes that it was stupid. As far as the heroine can remember, she didn't have a second parent, but Yi Kang was always there, so everything is fine. Quietly asking where the woman is now, the young man calmly says that she died a long time ago. Finally, that child woke up, standing up. He suddenly grabbed his hand, making some strange sounds. There were rocks all around. A collapse began. The girl pushed the guys out, but she herself could not get out, realizing that she would have to choose death. Opening her eyes, the baby realizes that she is alive, although she does not understand how this happened. Her body hurts terribly. The heroine thought that she was about to get the healer of all things, but he was not where she expected to find him. There was a sudden collapse from all this. We can conclude that the chi core will not recover. Bakley asks herself to calm down. First of all, she needs to survive the walls, and floor around are smooth as if they were recently restored. There is a cave in this place. Seeing the light at the end of the corridor, the lady enters the room. It seems to be some kind of warehouse with various medicines. There are pills and syrups in the boxes. I would like to give them to my father. But if I don't get out, that will be impossible. It is more difficult for the girl to move in the basement. There are only medicines for internal energy, and there is no other way out. There is a sound from outside, as if someone is looking for the girl, if not the father. Then no one else will be breaking into the wall. As a result, the girl came across a cabinet in the wall. If you grab the box, you can move the doors. Having opened the entrance, the lady backs away. What she found horrified her. There was a body and blood. It turned out that the man was still alive, and it seemed that he was the one who called the beauty she urgently needed to do something. For example, get some medicine. The voice calls out a name it couldn't help but know, Beckley Young, because she so badly wanted to find the person in front of her. The chi core is truly crippled, and the man asks to tell him the truth about what happened to the village. Everyone died except one boy before the collapse covered the area. The maiden saw the figure that pulled out Sonaki. The man also heard about Yikan's skills and heroism, and he wanted to know something. Such an outstanding father should have saved his child and not someone else, but it has nothing to do with skills. It was the main character who pushed the boy instead of herself. She wanted to save Yayul too, but Beckley only has 2 arms. Instead of saving herself, the lady made her choice. While he was holding the girl, she would have had to make a choice, but otherwise everything is fine. And Khan is a private person who did not turn away from those in need. He could not change just for the sake of his daughter. Grandfather mumbles something and does not answer when asked how they can get out. Initially, the heroine wanted to fix her Diantian. There was no time left. The man would give her something instead. The workers are digging. 2 months have passed. It's time to give up. The girl has probably died long ago. The young master should understand this, but perhaps he just wants to return at least the remains. If the baby is buried in that place, she will not be able to attain nirvana as a polo. In the distance, the figure of Yayul can be seen, who is descending again. It seems he is carrying someone on his back. The lady's eyes were bandaged. The doctor has no idea what happened to her vision. It takes time. It seems that because she had been in the dark for too long, it was now becoming more difficult for her to look around. If that were the reason, it would be better. But no, the man screams, asking what will happen next. After that very day, the main character acquired 2 fields of vision. The first one consists of darkness, and the second one of light. Tears flow from her eyes, which she wipes away. She continued to look from the exit of the dungeon, and now cannot open her eyelids. 2 months have passed since the beauty disappeared. She herself did not know it. It is time to go to the Nam Gung family. It would be better if Yun goes first and gets proper treatment at a good clinic. Yayul enters the room. The brunette frowns slightly when asked why the gentleman abandoned the child entrusted to him. The servant promises to deliver letters from both of them immediately, and while remaining close to her friend, the maiden again experiences a strange feeling. The boy remembers the look on her face and the smile when the girl pushed him to safety, and now asks why she did that. The brunette always thought that the beauty didn't like him, so all this time he was constantly thinking about what was going on. Life is precious to people, but the boy feels like he is worthless and is constantly hated. The expression on Yayul's face when he said this was calm and cool, as if he was stating an obvious fact. Asking him to come a little closer, the girl hits him sharply on the forehead so that he remembers how not to tell lies. The girl didn't save him for this kind of treatment. She hoped that he would begin to appreciate life at least a little. Just talking about Yang makes him incredibly angry, and if something like this happens again, the situation will only get worse. All this time, the man did not show it, and the lady never thought that Yayul was thinking about such things. A headache has started, but there is no point in bringing medicine because the girl is not allowed to do this yet. There is some commotion outside. There are 2 men, and next to them, a boy who is crying for some reason. He seems to be similar to Sun Oke, who immediately runs towards him, trying to escape from his hands. The woman orders him to let go, and he immediately hugs her. Such strange behavior is not justified by anything. I asked Eula to move away a little, so that they would be alone. Obviously, the kid was looking for the healer of all things, and not Yanni. The doctor had no family, so this baby is almost like his own, lowering her head. The lady knows that the man has left this world. The girl wonders why the child looks so much like that chick from school, especially when he cries. The brunette holds out a bag of coins. With that amount of money, he should be able to get to the village without any problems. Now, the heroine has done everything in her power, and now it's time for her to leave. The villagers will look after the boy. The acquaintance obviously wants something else, so he cries again and falls at her feet, clutching the hem of her dress. Ayul, who was watching from the side, was nearby in a split second, grabbing the young man by the collar and squeezing with all his strength. He almost knocked the girl over. But that's no reason to grab him so hard. You need to try to somehow monitor your actions. Looking at the floor, the brunette asks for forgiveness. He was wrong, but it seems he doesn't understand at all what exactly. All this time, so Nok asked to go with his savior, but she refused. Already in the carriage, the lady hears a question about why that man was left in the village without being taken with him. In a few years, a great war between good and evil will begin, and it will be more difficult to protect the baby. The girl does not want to take responsibility and take care of someone. Beckley's position in the family is not very good, so bad that even a chick cannot be protected. The man looks at the pond in the garden. He remembers that his daughter asked what the carp were thinking about. Each fish is very individual, and of course has its own brain which works at full capacity. Now it was all over. The maiden was gone, and Ran immediately began pestering with the return of her twins. People around were whispering, condemning the beauty for dying in such a place, finding even more reasons. In the Yi family's vast estate, Kang couldn't find a single soul who was genuinely worried about Yond. In order not to destroy the family and not to create problems, The man did everything he could, and still the terrible attitude did not change. Andu ran to the master, too worried it turned out that the girl had been found. She was alive. Nam Gung meets the beauty at the carriage. Picking her up in his arms, the only thing that bothers him is the blindfold. The brunette is so worried that he shows 2 fingers to see if everything is okay. The little joke with the wrong number didn't work, and the girl laughs. Deciding not to be angry at the child, Wang hugs her tighter, continuously thanking her for coming back. In telling her story of how she got out, the lady mentioned the books of the healer of all things. No one knew that the secret room would be located near some village and underground. Taking out the box, the little girl holds out 1 bottle. This is the purest qi oil. The girl will of course give 1 piece to her father and the second to her uncle, because this is considered correct. The brunette refuses. He is not a fraud to covet things that a child received, almost at the cost of his life. Butter is something anyone would risk their life for, and that's the reaction you'd expect from your dad's best friend. It doesn't matter how expensive this medicine is. The most important thing is that the uncle didn't give up and looked for the girl until the very end. The beauty's hand will soon fall off from holding the bottle, so in the end, she convinces him that he needs to take it away. After several days of riding in a carriage, they finally managed to arrive at Nam Gung's residence. The road was not easy. In the past, when the female lead stayed at their family's estate, Ryu Cheng left with his mother, so they didn't meet. It seemed that everything would be fine when they left. But then Yang So-ok met her husband at the door. The girl greets the arriving Beckley. If the lady is here, then Ryu Cheng is probably somewhere nearby. The story changes again. They both should be in the mistress's family's house, but somehow the boy is training in the Wang courtyard. Before the man runs away, the lady has a child. She wishes to introduce Seo Ha-ryung of the Seo Hyang sect. Again, both Yule's next steps and the protagonists have changed. The man with scarlet hair is none other than the main character. According to what was said before, Mu Kayol is one of the top 10 masters. He should also be in the manor. The girl doesn't know if she can stay in this place and hide her friend's abilities from the great man. It seems like someone is screaming right under the windows. The heroine sticks her head out, only to see Yule holding Ryan's hand. It would be better to let her go first, even if she was scurrying like a rat under the windows. They had already met a little earlier. The girl hit the guy on the leg and immediately ran away. The brunette explains that So-ha is the daughter of the leader of a famous sect. It would be better to put some ointment on my leg and not talk about it anymore. The conversation was interrupted by an old man who asked for some times. The accumulation of light in Diantian is stronger than anyone else. He has a lot of strength bending down. The man asks who this little guy is in front of him. By casting a sharp spell to freeze the hero, the man wants to do the same to the lady. She seems to be able to see his magic, but it's not enough for his body to completely dodge it. She was hit right in the chest, causing her to scream. The old man did not understand what happened and how she dodged halfway. Everything is burning inside. The death point has been pierced. If it is not restored immediately, one can die. The baby woke up later, but already in her chambers. I want to hope that the master did not guess about the ability. Instead of expressing gratitude, the lady looks at him with anger. The hero is definitely the one who is behaving inappropriately. To be honest, he is a rather harsh opponent, so you should be careful instead of gratitude. The heroine asks who is in front of her. This old man is a real pain in the ass with his answers. He himself asks what other person can calmly walk around the Nam Gung estate. It may be that this is the current head of the family, in which case it is better to introduce yourself properly. The man explains what brought him here, remaining extremely brief. He needs qi oil. It would be better to present this gift with good intentions. The girl definitely has it. Since the lady even received the ability, she is probably allowed to take what she wants, since she is now the heir. If that person handed everything over to such a weak one, then it's just ridiculous. She has no shortage of impudence with the way she behaves. The old man caught him in a lie, learning that a brat studying dark magic had been brought into the family. But I am not a follower of Yule. This is not true. By launching an attack, now they are facing war. Or perhaps not, the baby is being treated with disdain. Of course, if the oil is not transferred, all that remains is to say goodbye to life. The brunette only agrees to a deal if the magic is revealed. Her friend must be safe. Even if Nam Gung's family finds out, I hope it won't cause more harm to Yikong. And those are the conditions. The man is already reaching for the bottle, nodding. But first, he needs to make sure of something just to be sure. This old man is not the head of the clan. The girl did not try to deceive him. She needs a promise from his real name. The moment will be clarified, and after that, the lady will not ask any more questions, because she also understands what is what. Finally, they were left alone. It was a pity to lose the potion, but just in case the little girl had hidden another one. I reacted to Yule even more painfully, because I didn't understand why this was being done only for him. Guhongma is the Emperor of Heavenly Flame, and this is the true identity of the one who will provide protection. No matter how strong a person is, no one can wander around the Nam Gung family estate that is overflowing with masters. The old man was given permission. He is the blood brother of the head of Mucheol. At this time, the gray-haired man is still alive. It turned out that the young man did not know who was in front of him. The most important thing to remember is that the grandfather is eccentric and very strong. Even if Yikang had come, he wouldn't have stopped him. It would have been easier to give it up willingly, as was said. Ayul was saved at the cost of precious oil, so now he cannot say that he is worth nothing. The next day, the lady received an invitation from the mistress. To share a meal, everyone was already sitting, as if the heroine was late. Muchen assures that everything is fine. They gathered earlier to discuss something. The girl remembers well what her meeting with Ryu Cheng was like. It was different from what it is now. In the original story, the heroine was in love and did everything she could to win his heart. Now, there is a little excitement, but nothing more. The girl greets the hero, but he abruptly turns away. In the future, the brunette hopes that she will pretend that they don't know each other because the boy didn't even say hello. Seo Ha-ryung sits next to him with her shining gaze full of love, and she immediately starts asking questions. Nam Gung Jr. wishes that these two would just shut up and not ruin his peaceful dinner. By chance, the girl notices bruises on her wrists. If Ryan shows them, the family will become interested in Yayul, and this is not good. Now the beauty apologizes. She understands that it is better this way, although in fact her friend was wrong then. The girl from the clan actually walked under the windows because she heard that a peer had arrived. She just wanted to say hello. The baby is much more sincere and honest. Maybe she is a good child. The woman nods, assuring that everything is fine. The girl asks if the chi core is really damaged. It is clear that she is not very obedient and has no sense of tact. It seems like Wang doesn't know what happened between the Fire Emperor and his niece, so he asks if she's okay. Ryu Chung stands up, saying that he needs to practice, so he will leave the room. Children rarely listen to what they are told. Ha-ryung grabs her friend's hand, saying that they will leave too, since there is no point in staying around the adults anymore. The redhead asks Chung to train with her. That would be nice. They were together all day anyway, but it didn't last long. There were only 2 angles, and only 1 sparring session. For some reason, Nam Gung hates training together. The brunette is rude because he thinks that there is a huge difference in their level. Of course, there is nothing right with the baby. She is almost crying. The reason why it was necessary to be close was to get closer, because the young man was strong and would help. The girl had never thought before that this could be real. It was still too early to talk about love. Before, but she had never won against Ching, and they hadn't even had a proper fight. Nam Gung is undoubtedly a genius, but the main character will also become famous for her skills in the future. The sex fencers are wonderful. First, we need to talk about this in order to change the subject from the unpleasant one. The leader of the sect is an excellent swordsman. The beauty also wants to be like him for some reason. After these words, the beauty became sad. To distract her from tears, the heroine asks to show her fencing from the sect. This will raise their spirits a little. Seo Ha-ryun has amazing skills. It won't be a lie to say that he is the best among his peers. The lady is more shocked by the vision. With the eyes, she can predict the attack of the sword. As soon as it was all over, the girl squealed in admiration that it was cool, and she wanted to watch it again. Yan must confirm what she saw. Perhaps she can help the beauty when she fights against Ryu Cheng. There is no strength left at all 10 times. Without a break is perhaps too much. It makes you want to scream. Then it's better to stop and not lie on the cold. The heroine is almost crying, screaming that she can't even get up. The brunette apologizes because she didn't realize how much she asked. She asks how long the girl has been living in the estate. It turns out that about 2 months. This place is located not far from Suhyang. It is not possible to simply return back the residence, like that Nam Gung has something to learn from. Of course, I don't want to miss this rare opportunity, but even so takes on too much, even too much. Looking at Yeon's training, it seems like her friend has empty shoulders, and people often point this out to her. As soon as the lady fills her shoulders with energy, another problem appears. And this is not at all how she wants it to be. The beauty is not going to finish. Apparently, the friends will meet again tomorrow, but for now. So is in a hurry to run away to get some rest. Sage, the servant of the Nam Gung family, arrived to inform that the headman wished to have a cup of tea with the guest. If it's late, you can come tomorrow. But for some reason, the beauty refuses. She won't be able to sleep anyway because of curiosity. Muchung realized that the girl had become very close to So Har-yoon, and he was interested in watching their training. There is an unknown energy behind the screen. The man asks about her well-being. She thanks him for the care provided. The interlocutor examines Dian Tian. To do this, one must have great strength. He guessed what state the body was in. Wang said that the girl gave pure qi oil, found in the laboratory of the healer of all things. It might be a waste of resources, but she likes the guy, so it's the other way around. In fact, since the lab was discovered, it will one day be open to everyone. All eyes will be on the surviving Yan. Even if the differences were suppressed, the problem would arise later. Baek Lee would greedily take all the oil for themselves. The best solution was to give qi to the Nam Gung family so as not to cause the two families to be hostile. Van had always been kind to the girl, and she decided to repay him in kind by giving him a small gift. Smiling, the man asks that they call him simply Grandpa from now on, so that they won't be so formal. The boss wants to tell something and he doesn't accept objections. He needs to hear consent directly directed. This is not such a dangerous secret to be afraid of. The grandfather is ready to tell the child the truth. She deserves it. The emperor stole the oil, although he is not a very good man. But he respects the laws the old man can offer to fulfill any request. It won't be possible to get the oil back. He's already drunk it. It's not a great loss. The girl knew that it would be like this. There is no need to return qi. The brunette will take this as a lesson. If you can't protect something, it will be stolen from you. The doctor's work originally belonged to Nam Gung, which means he is more connected to him. The maiden saw the records of martial arts and wants to know more about her power. Wang yells at his father. He left immediately after the conversation ended. He didn't know that the emperor would steal the pure oil. Not long ago, the young man wanted to give qi to his son, given his behavior at dinner. Now he doesn't deserve it. Chen orders to sit down. Even Yan was able to learn a lesson. The guy should be able to do it too. A lesson that you shouldn't step on a rake, nothing more. Hearing this insolence, the man pours out a glass of water. Even if you return the oil, she won't take it away. The second time, the medicine will be taken away from her by force. As long as the girl is with the Nam Gung family, no one will touch her, says Wang. But rumors that she came from the doctor's laboratory are spreading. It won't be possible to hush up the matter, alas. This is not the case. You can only quietly hand over the oil to Canoe, and even then, a little later. Unfortunately, if Baek Lee takes the medicine, no one knows what will happen to him. In the end, the lady got nothing. Chul had no idea about martial arts research. The ability is too dangerous for someone who does not possess it. The girl must be extremely careful. The brunette is too sleepy to think. But once she gets a good night's sleep, she can think about everything. At the entrance, I meet Yul, who has been standing in the same place since his girlfriend left without moving. The girl was scared, because usually people have their own activities that they don't miss for something so stupid. The boy had not had supper. He did not know when the lady would return, but he stood faithfully in place, waiting for his hour. He is afraid that something bad will happen. There is one person, the emperor, who can attack without warning. In the morning, she came to the girl and left only when she saw that she had not yet woken up. She wanted someone to watch her training. I couldn't stop her, but on the contrary, it's good. The young man is strong. There would have been more bruises. The man holds out water with medicine today. It is absolutely necessary to take it. Refusals are not accepted for him. The guy is probably upset. He has no way to leave the shelter and go to the estate. In the distance, Ryu Chung can be seen, but there is an unknown person nearby. So to find out, the lady decides to use force. The lady hears barely audible voices. It seems that the man is being scolded. Mother orders them to apologize to their guest, and now they will be able to train together as she wanted. Yesterday, my father was unhappy with my behavior. He almost jumped up and threatened, so I need to improve. The brunette leaves. She doesn't want to listen to any more swearing. Maybe she should go to Mrs. So to explain everything. The beauty runs towards him and hugs him with practitioners from the clan standing behind her. The young lady is the smallest, but all the others look like teenagers. There are 12 of them. Backley bows down the girl, so caught up in her life that she forgot how she was mocked and called trash. Instead of an unpleasant meeting, the guys smile, noticing that the brunette is cuter than in Young's stories. Everyone gathered is energetic. This is all completely new for the beauty. From this day on, the redhead will train with the young master every day for half a day. The promise is more important now. The girl must watch the training this time. The battle will be with Nam Gung. The girl greets the guy, but he gives them an angry look. Something is wrong with him. Time after time the man won. He made him lose his sword 10 times, although he could have finished it with one powerful attack. Instead, he chooses to show off his fighting skills and toy with her. Once again, winning the boy suggests complaining to his mother because she is being offended so much here. The girl doesn't understand what she did wrong. She never tried to complain. Before the next fight begins, Yan steps forward to protect her friend. Perhaps there was a misunderstanding. Turning around, she asks the servants to come closer. She would like to know who came to see the lady this morning. One of the women points to herself and Yang So. OK calls over to ask what happened between the two. It seems that they did not consider the version where someone else gave the information to the mother. There is no point in taking out anger on So. It is still worth apologizing properly for the misunderstanding that has arisen. Clicking his tongue, the young man quickly leaves. The conflict is temporarily resolved, and then we will see how things go. Haran asks to show the house. There is nothing special there. The rooms are no different from each other. Ayul said that the girl came even in the morning. The boy looked intently, so she quickly ran away. It can't be left as is. As soon as the heroine arrives home, she will definitely undergo treatment. The young man is waiting for his girlfriend again, although he was asked to mind his own business. The two glare at each other, but nothing changes in their relationship, alas. When the girl first came in, it was dark because of vision problems, but it seems the situation has improved, so it's not all that bad. The brunette intends to cure her friend's wrist, but she doesn't think it's necessary. Nothing hurts. Someone may ask questions about how they will see dark marks, so they need to get rid of them. A bandage is applied to the hand. The girl realized that Ryan did not report what happened to her mother only because she was nearby. Since she even said that she had done nothing wrong, it was clear that this was the work of one of the close servants. It's just a pity that Nam Gung didn't believe as expected. Then the skills are not enough. It's a pity that this is so. Next time, the lady will win and prove that she is better. Yeon saw everything, even Ryu Cheng's weaknesses that he tried to hide. When the gentleman gets into a certain position, a hole in the defense appears. This must be used. The heroine will tell more details only if they finally finish with the wrist. In the healer's shelter, the girl saw a lot. It was time to put it into practice. The eyes just turned golden when an attempt was made to release a drop of energy outward. I ask Eula if he saw something, but out of solidarity, he turns away. Hyun just imagined it. The little girl quickly forgot about what happened, considering that they wanted to help her with training. 2 weeks have passed, and there is no escape from the pain after classes, but this is a normal thing. The golden eyes seen that day were not a mistake. They change color every time, revealing strength to those around them. He met Ryu Cheng in the yard. He was a little surprised to see the girl. She said hello. After all, they hadn't seen each other for a long time. The young man looks fierce as he was locked in the temple after his mistreatment of Hyuni. The feelings are unusual in his past life. Nam Gung was very kind, but the heroine was cold to him, knowing what future awaits them. The boy endured the bad treatment and persistently tried to befriend her, simply because she was his master's daughter. Next time we meet, we need to make peace. Now it's time to go before Yule intervenes and a conflict arises. The young master called out, perhaps because he had something to say, but he didn't have the strength, and he simply ran away. A friend asks who it is they have never met before, although it makes sense that it is Nam Gung Wan's son. Now that the boy had left the temple and served his punishment, his training with So would resume very soon. A few days passed. Ryan was nervous, although it was just an exhibition fight for 2. The heroine helps Ryu Cheng's ashamed face suits her, so she agrees to use force. The fight began. The hero attacks with all his enthusiasm. The maiden was waiting for exactly this kind of fight. Being inexperienced, They had to fight using basic techniques, and the lady simply pointed to an open spot. The problem arises in the previous duel. Nam Gung, as if mocking the technique of flowing waters, repeated the same thing over and over again. Today, he used several fundamental techniques to effectively counter his opponent. This makes the fight seem more varied, but it also reduces the chances of winning several times. Haryung charges forward no matter how strong the sword is. When a sword is pointed at him, he will have to use something else. Realizing that he was being hit, the hero used the blade's aura, something that had never happened before. A piece of a wooden sword flies towards the girl. She sees the trajectory tilting her head, will help to avoid the blow. Behind the brunette is her sister Shabi. In order to save her, the beauty grabs onto a tree, preventing her from flying forward. Everyone was surprised, including the heroine herself. She didn't think she'd be able to catch it. As soon as the rumor that the maiden had injured her hand began to spread, Wang immediately rushed to her. Uncle probably also noticed that Nam Gung had summoned the blade's aura. At that moment, the guy was truly a monster. And Kang, a child prodigy gifted by the heavens, also awakened the sword aura at the age of 12. For some reason, the man is not happy at all. He looks as if he is even more angry. Using such techniques without a real sword is prohibited, and having escaped with a wound to her hand, the girl realizes that she is lucky. If you stitch the wound properly, don't bother your hand, and get help with energy. There won't be any problems. The doctor says that the beauty can stabilize and grow her strength. This is necessary to recover from the problems. The girl was called a waste of time, but not directly. She doesn't mind it being like that because it's not something new. Despite this, it's good when someone takes her side. Uncle stood up for her, and it made her smile. The beauty woke up. She immediately felt a hand, Yayul, was sitting next to her, looking at his friend's bandaged palm. The sister runs into the room. The girl finally woke up. A whole day has passed. It seemed that there was pain in the dream, as the woman tried to move her hand, so the gentleman sat next to her, so that she would not move. The brunette doesn't believe that Yule sat next to her the whole time. In fact, it's a pretty sweet gesture. The woman falls to the ground, asking for forgiveness. For putting the girl in danger, she promises to do whatever it takes to repay this debt. The heroine asks if there were any problems after what happened. It seems like there was a lot of fuss. Lady so told everything she usually doesn't talk about anything remaining closed, but now she stepped over herself. It must have been hard not to sleep all night. The girl is going to get some rest, but she is told that Ryu Cheng has arrived. The boy comes inside. He looks at him angrily. Yule wants to throw him out, but instead the lady asks him to leave. Never able to win in arguments, so the brunette steps back, and the maid offers to set the table. The tea is ready, the man is silent. But in that case, it would have been better not to come. He doesn't even answer what's wrong with his face. Of course, it was because of the training sessions that Mr. Wang had assigned him. Now is not the time to worry about whether he is okay. Noticing the bandage on his hand, the brunette sits down again and remains silent. Looking carefully, he asks if the beauty is okay. This is also quite important for him now. Obviously, the guy came because he was worried that the injury could lead to disability if the wrong decision was made. After laughing a little, the lady quickly falls silent. If she continues to behave like this, she will only further irritate her interlocutors. The beauty is completely healthy. Everything is fine with her. So in any case, you won't have to worry one bit. The man will help and will continue to help until the pain goes away completely. What happened is his fault. What was happening looked more like a real gesture of reconciliation, but the beauty did not immediately notice it. Nam Gung's clumsy apology wasn't exactly pleasant if the lady had been without Yule. Perhaps she might have even agreed. Former enemies cannot be in the same place at the same time. The brunette understands the intentions, but cannot agree. Even in the past, Ryu Cheng always insisted on his desires, and it's the same with him now. This time, you need to be as cruel as possible. He never showed his desire to take an interest in life. It sounds like the beauty wants to get into trouble with the boy. She doesn't want to be around unfriendly people. Shouting the brunette suggests making friends. This is his last attempt. His motives are not entirely clear. Surely these words indicate that the young man feels sorry for the one who suffered. So he behaves this way. Lady So did not apologize, although the girl suffered not only physical pain, but also moral pain. If the words are sincere, you should first say sorry for the damage caused to Hyunti. At that first horror, the man made a mockery of the girl, saying that they had different statuses. An ordinary child might not understand, but if he were from the Nam Gung clan, he would be able to discern the subtext in these words. Understanding, the brunette stands up and is about to leave, colliding with Yayun, who is standing outside the door. Smiling, he promises that he will take care of the lady. Words are clearly unnecessary. Ryu Cheng is already on the edge. As soon as the gentleman left, the girl screams, asking what was the point of provoking young Nam Gung. The girl herself is no better than her friend. The uncle's son tried to befriend her, but nothing came of it. Looking at the sad expression on his face, the hero asks for forgiveness. He was actually wrong when he tried to tease Ryu. It wasn't necessary to be friends, but it was also possible not to quarrel. The next morning, So tells how the young master came to her. He began to apologize, and then ran away. The redhead said she didn't want to have anything to do with him, but it seems she changed her mind. Yan is much better. She is more cheerful and kinder, and she also wishes the best for those around her. Baek Lee stood up for Shibi. Mother always said that good people protect the weak. Just recently, the lady even caught a fragment with her bare hands. This defies any logic since she acted by inertia. Ryu Chung would never have apologized if it weren't for the brunette. She was the one who made him come over. Now the redhead hates that guy. They can take him for themselves, because there will be no benefit anyway. All this time, there was a boy standing behind him who seemed to be starting to boil with anger. The little girl immediately hides behind her friend's back. A rough voice asks if the words just said were true. In such situations, the only sure way is to confidently walk away hiding. To be treated better, he should have been nice to the redhead. The fault lies with him. The days were getting shorter. It was getting cold, and at night it was impossible to fall asleep without a fire burning nearby. The girl didn't think that she would stay in the Nam Gung clan for so long, but she still liked it. Lately, Shibi and Yule have completely forgotten what sleep is every night. They watch the lady. She still has a wound on her hand. If a young man is so worried, it would be much easier to bandage his palm so that he doesn't move. They can't sleep in shifts. Ryu Cheng arrived entering. He asks what the two were doing on the table. There are hieroglyphs drawn on a piece of paper. In the end, they couldn't refuse the offer, and now they don't even look each other in the eye. The girl found a compromise since Shibi and Yule needed rest. Nam Gung agreed to help in his free time. In the room, a lady was teaching her friend to write. He said that he couldn't even write hieroglyphs. The relationship with the guy cannot be characterized in any way, but the beauty cannot explain it normally. Since the brunette had come in, they would have to go somewhere because the girl still had her own things to do. Entering the clan's closed library, the little girl lights up with happiness. She hasn't seen anything like this for a long time. While in Baek Lee's family, the child could not say that she could read, but 10 years ago, in her past life, she managed to learn. Fortunately, the healer of all things had books in his dungeon. Otherwise, he would have gone completely mad. The lady learned to read only recently. If she asked her father to go into the hall with books, she would have aroused suspicion. The girl decided that if anything happened, she would say that Ryu had to read her something. This was an excellent cover. The guy's face distorted. He was probably wondering why the heir's daughter was becoming enlightened so late. No one needs to ask such awkward questions. They are not very comfortable for those around you. The beauty comes closer, asking that this not happen again. She decided to joke a little, so she smiles before saying something else. In fact, Baek Lee is a genius. She has no need for training. Although it is strange to others, it is true. The woman started laughing as soon as she saw the evil eyes. She is not testing patience, but simply mocking. The little girl sent the young gentleman to bring her various books, and thanking him, she again says that about reading. It was not a joke. It was not worth telling the secret. The man would not guarantee that he would keep it a secret. The cheeks are too cute without controlling herself. The beauty will ask to pinch at least once, but of course here's a refusal. Half an hour of reading has passed. It seems that the young man is tired, because he seems to be in the clouds if something is wrong. He can tell. It turned out that he was unsure if Baek Lee had revealed the move the boy had used in his fight with So. The girl had never studied martial arts, but she understood everything all because she could see it just like that. A gentleman bursts into the room. He was supposed to be doing something else, but ended up running into the library. Only the lady is happy about the arrival. Nam Gung screams, asking that tenderness be left for later. The man came because the girl did not show up for the arm treatment that was originally planned. Ryu Cheng is just distracting the beauty. He should be minding his own business, instead of spreading around. The girl says that her friend helped her. There is no need to scold him, but he remains silent, not confirming her words. The baby blushed a little again, embarrassed by the situation. But in this case, it was better to forget about everything. The son must learn to cope with the difficulties of being spoiled by his master from birth. Yanni still doesn't understand why he's being criticized for doing a good deed. It's a bit out of place with the current situation. The doctor examines the wound. He thought that everything would be bad, but the cut has almost healed. Beck Lee should be happy in a few days. She can go to the Hall of the Firmament. This place is specially created for the disciples of the Nam Gung family, where they undergo secluded cultivation. Martial arts masters did not practice their strength anywhere for them. It was taboo. Usually, clans would find these sources and take them into their own hands. The hall was artificially created using secret techniques. That place also has healing properties. She will go there to heal her palm. Only one person can enter at a time, and once the door is opened, it will not be open again for 2 weeks. Yan needs to be confident in her decision. She believes that this is perfect for her. The energy needs to be activated. Ryu Chung shouts that he wants to go there too later, but it turns out that he is not allowed to do so. The girl was given an angry look. She asked what the problem was. The young man was too ambitious. Activation requires balance of body, soul, and mind. Nam Gung has not yet reached enlightenment. If he leaves, he will upset his balance. Even with her behavior as it is, the heroine is considered smarter than some of her peers and adults. The man changes the subject. It turns out he found out who attacked the village, where the healer of all things lived. These were mercenaries from the demon clan. The situation is getting complicated. It is impossible to keep track of them. The clan was recently destroyed. The old man behind the road is in horror, not understanding what is what. At first, Nam Gung wants to go to his father. He can't make a decision alone. A man with snow-white hair sits on the throne. It seems the Murim Alliance found out something about him. The ghost business was handled perfectly, although some problems did arise. It doesn't matter if the Alliance knows all of this. We need to make sure they don't find out some of the details. The general will have to do most of the work, and the Alliance's research group should be left to him. The group has made contact with a stupid and weak person who can be used. But for now, it cannot be used, because Beck Lee will notice. The Jiggle family is making their move against the Nam Gung clan. Yayul is now with Li Yan. They want to extract the seed from Yi Kan, when his loyalty to the faction is more than 80%. Very soon the world will be in their hands. It is incredible, but this is exactly what they have been trying to achieve for so long. The time has come to enter that very hall. The beauty gives the boy instructions so that he can complete everything while she is gone. The girl asks to come closer and carefully places her bandaged hand on her face. When they met, Yule was a small, skinny child. His cheeks are plumper, and now he is very cute. The brunette leaves for treatment. There is no escape from this. The hero will definitely wait, doing it quietly. Sometimes a lady doesn't know how to behave, given her unwavering loyalty. The girl stands in front of the entrance. The uncle's wife asks for the last time if the beauty is afraid to go in there. Nam Gung screams that everything will be fine. When Ryu was 7, he spent a whole year there. The lady is too concerned, in fact. Yan is not afraid she needs it. This is where the farewell ends. Chung never came, it's not a big loss. The first thing that catches your eye is a beautiful stream and many colorful trees around. They said that the source was created artificially. A simple walk on the grass felt unusual. The girl can't be fooled by what she sees. She's not as stupid as she might seem. First, you need to collect as much natural energy as possible. In my hands, I have a small golden ball the size of a pea. Although at first it seemed like it would be bigger, the amount of power is a problem. But the girl also needs to increase the time it takes to consume it. The first time she used this skill, the heroine was only able to hold out for a couple of minutes. So far, the heroine still does not understand what will cause her father's death in the future. This remains to be seen. Since she is in the hall, she will simply work on developing physical strength and control over the power of nature. After a while, everything was finished. Although Nam Gung said that it was possible to train for more than 2 weeks if the lady did not show up after a long time, they would start to worry. The right arm was finally completely healed, which was great news and something I wanted to receive. The girl went outside. She didn't expect it to be night there because the sun was shining inside the hall. Ahead, the figure of Yi Kang can be seen. He quickly runs up, hugging the little girl with all his might. The aroma was always covered by medicinal herbs. Powerful and warm embraces decorating from the world made it clear that the beauty was safe. Nam Gung suggests that the child should finally get off, but the man asks them not to touch him. They finally manage to get the moment, and that's what's important. If Yanni had been a little bit late, his father would have broken down the gate, but it still wouldn't have worked. Van said that she could stay as long as she wanted, so the girl made full use of the time. After the heroine's story, it becomes clear that she was not aware of her father's arrival. And Kang sent Jeon Seo-gu as an ambassador to warn her, but it turns out she wasn't told anything. The brunette did the right thing. If the lady had known about the upcoming meeting, she would have been counting the days until the end of the training session. The man didn't know that the girl would come so late, but he fulfilled his part of the agreement by sending her away early. It's still good that Yan went out and gained experience in that case. Nam Gung is going to leave tomorrow. Baek Lee is heading home. The girl wants to show something. She suddenly calls upon her energy. Her eyes begin to glow wildly. After this, the lady told about everything that had happened to her since the day she left. The ability to see energy is strange. The man has never heard of it and does not know what to say. It helped the body heal, and it meant a lot to the child that he had acquired skills similar to Yi Kang. It would be best to keep all this a secret. The girl is not sure about the reality. She was told that she could learn martial arts, and others might have higher expectations. Having lost her powers, Yan became the subject of ridicule and constant pointing of fingers. Now the lady does not know whether she is able to hope for the best. Her strength may not be enough, and there will be disappointment again. The father noticed that the girl was looking at him. Obviously, she needed to see Yi Kang's energy. His technique and Nam Gung Wan's are similar. Dad's energy is not bright white but soft blue. It's impossible to look away, but it seems unnecessary. The man is probably angry now. Promising that from this moment on she will not ask for anything, the beauty sadly lowers her head, and the young man asks her not to worry, because he himself suggested it. Yan wants to hide the ability, but maybe it's worth telling the Nam Gung family, that way they can find out more about everything. In any case, the heroine doesn't really want to show her weak side, but it's easier to agree. The little girl wonders if she told everything or missed something. It seems there is still some chi oil left. They came to a secret place. Wang took good care of it. It seems there is someone in the dark. The man smirks. He didn't expect Baek Lee. The inner energy is dark. Hongma is in front of them. All this is not at all interesting. Emerging from the shadows, the old man allows us to see the child in his arms. He didn't plan to show up initially, but Yayul is to blame for everything. The father nods. He has never met before, but this is how they greet each other. The man needs an explanation of what the old man forgot in his daughter's secret place. Even knowing who is in front of him, he does not lower his sword. The little girl is scared. The last thing she needed was a fight. He specifically said who it was, so that he wouldn't join the battle. Hongma wanted to talk to the child. They all sat down at the table with tea. It would be better to get straight to the point. The man is not going to think about what will happen next. He just needs Yayul. He takes him as a student. Being the leader's disciple is a great honor. Yi Kang tries to get out of it, but the emperor claims that he already knows everything about him, hinting at his demon powers. The girl didn't say anything. She was going to explain when the family was back in her family's house. The boy cannot learn anything else because he has already mastered demonic energy. Unlike the people of the Island of Darkness, having mastered the art twice, you will not be able to touch anything else. You will not be able to go against it. The emperor still doesn't see the problem. In fact, it's even better for the youth to inherit his powers. The girl already understood that this was a good offer. It could be considered an opportunity granted by a genius. It's hard to believe in such coincidences, but the old man has no reason to lie. He's making a sincere offer. Still, Yan asks to ask Yayul first. He has his own opinion. On the other hand, no one would reject what was stated. There is no need for questions here. The child refuses, causing Baek Lee to freeze in horror. He quietly says that living next to Yeon is too much to his liking. This answer should satisfy the gentleman. There is hope that he will leave the boy alone. Initially, there are two energies in the human body. An excess of positive plus indicates that Yang is more developed than Yin. If left untrained, the young man will live to be 20, suffering incredible pain from the regrouping of his strength. A child is an example of a disease that cannot be cured. It simply fades away and it needs help. In the original, the man lived longer. There are two paths that can be taken. The first is the art of absorption, searching for yin in others prolongs life by years. The second is positive-negative martial art. If controlled, the physique will become an incomparable achievement. The old man still wants the child to be sent to him to be educated. He must change his mind. The girl learned that the emperor had offered to become her disciple about a month ago, but they had not told her anything. That day, the man forgot to say, and the boy himself was most worried about the beauty's hand. That man came every day for 2 weeks to convince me. The emperor said that everything is fine now, thanks to the art of absorption. The body is like a broken dam. If water starts to flow, it will lead to irreversible changes in the body. Looking sadly into the eyes of the lady, the boy asks if he is being sent away somewhere far away. Ayul's reaction is unusual. Nothing can be done, otherwise he will die. But he still reacts violently. Now the boy pretends that his life is worth nothing, not suspecting that this is not true. The young man is going to go to Yi King and convince him to refuse. He no longer has any choice. The opportunity cannot be missed. The Virgo is still incredibly worried. The look makes everything inside shrink. Yang will probably never understand him, and it's sad. The girl returned to the emperor. She made him wait, and that was not something that should have been done. A question arose that was not entirely appropriate to ask in front of my father. It was hard not to see the hidden meaning of the words. After listening to the little girl, the interlocutor had to confirm. Right now, Yayul has an excess of energy, which means that he needs conviction to survive. The boy can't be stopped by Hongma's martial arts, unfortunately. That child is the complete opposite of the old man. If you think about it, their union makes perfect sense. To master the art of elemental waves, one must first master the yang position. The lady mentions this fact. She acts as if she is ready to negotiate about the life of this child. Yan was unable to make a contract. She was wondering how sincere the man was towards Yayul, and whether he could be trusted. There are many reasons, but the girl will definitely not refuse for a person to stay with them. In about 10 years, the war of justice will begin. It will not be amiss for the emperor to become an ally of Bayak Li. The 9 fires technique must be practiced in a place filled with such energy, it is impossible to stay in the estate. The way of thinking is also important. Even if you force a boy to study, he will not follow orders. If the girl understood everything, she will convince the boy herself, forcing him to come back. The old man's inner core is no different from what it was before taking key oil. It seemed that the emperor would drink it himself, but obviously he was planning on Yulu oil. The heroine with her questions was starting to get annoying. The man is about to stop, but the girl deftly dodges, accidentally activating her protective shield. Grabbing his cheeks, the old man peers into the eyes. He felt this last time too. Despite the fact that she doesn't have much inner strength, the lady somehow manages to use it. The little girl didn't want to hide it otherwise. When she suddenly grabbed the sword filled with someone else's energy, her hand wouldn't be torn apart. There is nothing wrong if a brunette comes up instead of Yayula and becomes a new student. Perhaps it's worth a try. The old man runs in and says that Yikong's daughter wants to try martial arts. The next day, the little girl brought chi oil with her. The child thinks about how wonderful the reaction will be. As it turned out, the man was not at all surprised, because Nam Gung already had one. He heard that the girl had passed on the bottle. Yan sadly lowered her head. She wanted to surprise. But in the end, nothing worked out, alas. The brunette lied that she only had 2 copies, but in fact she cleverly hid another one for herself. From this moment on, the man will take care of him, but for now he will not be able to accept him. He can only accept his feelings, nothing more is given. The father decided to change his place of residence and told Van about his daughter's abilities. Nam Gung's foresight is delicate and pleasant, unlike Baek Li the family's. It seems that the lady now understands why Yi Kang wandered around the world of martial arts. The Heavenly Flame Emperor used a method that suited him, and as a result, it became the basis for many other techniques. Besides the 9 lights technique, the golden thread, which was on a completely different level, was considered the most outstanding of them. The lesson is over for today. The man says that they will continue again later. It is difficult to understand whether the young man is really trying to teach or is simply venting his anger. Yule applies a cloth to the beauty's forehead. It is cold, so she feels good. The emperor taught the boy breathing techniques and a formula for suppressing yang energy. The absorption progress began to slow down, and even so, the young man did not look happy. The old man suddenly decided to teach Yang too. Power was not sold for a formula that had to be studied, so it was not the brunette's fault. Today, father is fighting with Ryu Cheng, but for some reason he is not visible. Young is unfortunately not here. If the girl were nearby, she would have begged to become a spectator, but she left because it was her mother's birthday. Nam Gung looks angry. He thinks that something is wrong again. The lady does not give up asking why the hero has not come for a long time. The agreement was valid until the moment when the friend's hand was healed. Otherwise, there was no point in visiting her. I would like to see each other and talk, but the brunette doesn't like this idea. It's even disgusting. Ryu once again shows his stubbornness. It seemed like he had improved since he asked to be friends. The uncle, standing to the side, begins to boil all because of his son, who prefers to keep his distance from society. Yan will tolerate the attitude only to make amends. Sometimes she thinks about how she missed him. I would like to hope that the young man is also happy to meet you. It is time for the son strategy. A smile is in use. Turning away, Chung calmly replies that he has been training all this time. Nam Gung became very sensitive when there was a reason to worry. Usually it was related to the sword. As a person with a bad reputation, the girl always had nothing to say. She stood sadly to the side. The girl does not want to continue the conversation any further. She goes to her father to hug him. To say that the heroine is not disappointed would be a lie. But it is better to say that everything is fine so as not to cause more worries. Beck Lee enters the field and is immediately greeted the man, having heard that the boy is capable of creating sword energy. At the age of a young man, no one has achieved this. I would like to see, after the first time, the hero was never able to repeat it again. The girl hearing this freezes in surprise, although her father had no emotions. A lot of time has passed since the beauty's restoration. Nothing has happened since then. And then it's strange. Now it is clear why the young man was so sensitive. It is difficult to recreate energy only the first time. The second time should be, on the contrary, many times better. If you think about it, the guy managed to do something unusual, and it's not connected in any way. The beauty is distracted from her thoughts, deciding that it is time to watch the fight. Ching, almost lightning fast, takes off from the spot. Compared to this, the fight with Ha Ren seemed like a childish squabble, and now it looks very funny. Father still turned out to be stronger. He puts the sword on his shoulder, making it clear that the fight is over, doing it quickly. Ryu is a good boy. His abilities exceed his age. The head of the clan should be proud now. Mu Chiol came down to the platform. He had no reason to do so, but still he was here. The boy is asked why it was necessary to interrupt the first attack. He thought that there was no point in waiting, and wanted to think about the sword technique. Turning to Yeon, who was standing behind him, the old man notes that she had also recently resumed training. Smiling brightly, the young man suggests that they might fight. Nam Gung, who is standing behind, shouts without understanding what these words are. Yun cannot fight with Ryu Cheng, who is stronger. On the other hand, if the virgin agrees, it will be a good kind of experience. Naturally, it is forbidden to use internal energy. The brunette has little chance of winning, but she obediently agrees. Perhaps she can try. Lately, not everything has been going smoothly in my grandson's life. This is well known. A few days ago, he told his father that he wanted to enter the Hall of the Firmament. If that was the case, it was better to do as he was told. The little girl had not held a sword in her hands for a long time. In the past, it seemed to her that Leda, having lost energy, would be fine with hard work. Now the brunette is grateful that she worked out. Ryu promises that she won't give in. The hero rushes forward, sharply attacks, and immediately the weapon flies out of his hands. The sword was dropped as soon as the fight began. Something incredibly shameful, considering the status of the enemy. It was impossible to explain what was true and what was false, but that obviously meant that the Bak Li clan had such a level of combat. Even without possessing inner strength, a child had to learn at least something in his family, at least the basics. Looking at him with a haughty look, the girl quietly says that not everyone is as lucky as the young master. The boy asks to bring the sword back and try again. The girl doesn't even know how to resist him and can't imagine why it was necessary to offer to fight. Chul heard that the little girl had a keen eye and tried to avoid his half-brother's attacks. The girl cannot defeat with force, but first she will use her inner vision so that it is not noticeable. The first attack, she barely stayed in place now. The beauty clearly sees every movement. All thanks to training with the Heavenly Emperor, the movements feel much clearer and easier. Open confrontation is not possible, but Yan is quite good at dodging attacks. The Baek Li clan's swordsmanship and maneuvering are based on dodging and attacking. The practice from the past is not yet forgotten by the body. And besides, Nam Gung is not using energy now. The little girl thought she could win, but Ryu Cheng quickly got used to her maneuvers, and it seems like he's angry about the situation. Since self-control is almost lost, it is necessary to make the right decision as soon as possible about what to do next. It is impossible to win in a direct clash, in any case. The easiest way is to throw a wooden sword forward. He wanted to grab the weapon, but at the last moment, Nam Gung won. Yeon didn't succeed. She simply didn't have enough strength. The girl lost falling to the ground. She sighs about how hard it was for her. In the story of the book, Ryu is closely linked to the desire to protect what is dear to him. This is what he wants. The girl asks to create something valuable. Only then will the brunette overcome the invisible wall. Yeon goes to Yikong. In fact, it was a decent fight. There is no point in prolonging the training. The father lifts the girl into his arms because she complains that she could not get up due to lack of strength. As he walks up the steps, the young man continues to hear his friend's voice in his head, telling him that he needs to create something. Still, something was missing. The fight was strange. Van tore me out of my thoughts, grabbing the boy by the shoulders. You can't stand like that in the middle of the stairs. If you fall from there, you're guaranteed to break your leg and arm. The man called his son to join him, sitting at the table. He asks why all this is necessary at all, since they are silent. Nam Gung wants to know what Yeon said during the fight. He doesn't miss those words about the Baek Li clan. The statement sounded extremely rude, because the little girl had spent no more than a year in that family and had hardly learned fencing. The reason why this happened is not important. It is better to choose your words wisely, which the kid did not do. In my head, I understand that after just 1 year of training, the beauty reached such a level. She was definitely lucky. They saw each other often, but it seemed like they still didn't know anything about each other, with Yeon often coming in first, asking questions and making jokes. In any case, you will have to see each other often, but you should not forget about basic manners. For now, the next step is to go to the Hall of the Firmament. The boy himself begged to go there. The young man quietly asks to fight Baek Li at least one more time. It would be possible if the little girl wasn't a little exhausted after the fight. Finding herself bedridden, the girl again saw Yayul next to her. He tried to take care of her as much as possible. Even after using normal forces, the body needs rest preferably as much as possible. 3 days have passed. The emperor has already managed to scold the lady. Her level of endurance is now lower than that of an ant. Of course, if you rise up and gradually become better, it will become a little easier for everyone around you. The beauty's body is not completely healed, as evidenced by the fact that Human touches the mug with fire. The man asks to fill the bowl. It will definitely spill out, but the girl obediently takes the teapot in her hands. The little girl freezes with delight and realizes that not a drop has spilled. These are skillful hands. The old man touches the object, and it immediately crumbles the liquid, spreading down onto the table. I asked Eula to clean up. He noticed his friend's sad look and stopped next to me. The brunette asks what's what, but the grandfather grins, promising that he will tell everything if the boy becomes his student. Picking on someone is very childish, and with these words, the brunette insulted them. Hiding behind her friend's back, she mutters something about how laughter prolongs life for a while. While making fun of an elderly man, and one who is so powerful, the little girl completely forgets about her manners. She is certainly not ready to be afraid. All this was shown out of pure concern for her condition. In any case, it's time for the old man to go. His mission is over, but he wants his words to be heard. There is no power in the world without a price. Before him is a child who does not know how to take care of herself. The baby doesn't know when to take care of people. Yule also didn't live long. This puts him into a stupor. Without explaining, the man announces that he will be training in the morning. This time, he will not skip physical exercise. From this moment on, the young man had better take care of himself. Yun herself persistently asks for this, hoping for understanding. Yikong enters the room. The elder gentleman had obviously already left, but a cup, or rather its fragments, remained on the floor. The Emperor of Heavenly Flame suddenly broke the cup. It is better not to know the rest of the details. The man arrived to deliver a letter that was sent especially for his daughter. The sender was probably Sak Kayak, if you think about it. Yeon sent him a message with a simple request for help. Father also has a scroll in his hands. Judging by the seal, someone from the Baekli family tried to contact him. Haryung runs into the room she was waiting for the meeting. Yikung senses the commotion from a mile away. Later, sitting at the table with tea, the friends were discussing something the red-haired girl did not think that she would be able to meet such a great man. If the girl's father were here, it seemed like it would be time to return to his estate. This is probably true, but in reality, the lady will only leave after a certain amount of time. The end of winter is still far away, so it's okay. The interlocutor asks to go out for a walk. She was promised to go somewhere. The little girl barely remembers saying anything like that. She probably said it to calm Hyun down at some point in the situation. The girl asked her father for permission, and fortunately, the next day they went wherever they wanted. Huiju, where Nam Gung's family is well guarded, so nothing will happen. Yikung was glad that his daughter made a friend. The redhead ran quickly in the last few hours. She managed to find out about the fight between Ryu Chang and Yang. It was incredible. The girl was told that the beauty had won, but in fact she had lost, and everyone knows this. For Yayula, the beauty won. It must be a shame to lose to someone who has only been training for a couple of months and has just regained his strength. If the boy were in Beckley's place, he would be proud of the situation she wants to object, but is faced with Ching's murderous gaze. Ryu intervenes, his words shocking, because from the point of view of the fight, it was he who lost. This didn't seem like something shameful. It was just that the young lady knew how to surprise those around her. Looking at Yule with angry eyes, Nam Gung notices that he is not even able to find out about his girlfriend's skills. The atmosphere is not very good. Taking the boy away, the brunette asks, "What brought the friend here?" The young man was just passing by and heard that Yeon was getting better, so he decided to check on her again. The boy again behaves extremely rudely, completely disregarding the feelings of other people which he doesn't care about. The brunette said to show more interest in people, but out of all my friends, only she is so fragile. The girl suggests asking about her servant or her friend. It will depend on which of them gives their consent. There is also Yi Kong. While the little girl was thinking, she was quietly asked when they would go where they were going. Despite all this, they will talk a little later, because if they don't refuse, there will be a little less work. All three are in a good mood today and go out to have fun. Ryu reacts as if he has never had fun before. Haryung, without thinking, suggests that they should take the boy with them. Mother said that since they made peace, why not? In this case, the brunette asks them to go together. She didn't really want to go anywhere anyway. Ching snorts. He didn't say he agreed. Yayul suggests leaving him, and still leaving while there's still time. There are enough doubts as it is. The words seem to echo in my head, making their way into my consciousness. For some reason, there is a bad feeling inside. The brunette changed his mind and is going to head to the entertainment venue with his friends. The city is nice. The faces of the people we meet look joyful and happy. It is immediately clear that the small group stands out from the crowd. Everyone is very beautiful and well-dressed. Ryu can advise where to go for a walk. He is a local, but everyone else was out for the first time today. As it turned out, Nam Gung himself doesn't know the area well. He also went out for the first time. There's nothing surprising about that. The place is located near the estate. The brunette asks to pay attention to the land and what is happening on it. Ayul distracts from the fiery speech, pointing to a stand with various delicacies that need to be tried. As she is already heading there and is stopped, the lady hears Haryung's words that she should try the dumplings first. Unlike Nam Gung Seo, often went out with servants and her older brothers. The girl points to a place with a long queue. Even so, they are obliged to enjoy the food to the fullest without thinking about anything. Chung is not happy again. He is not ready to suffer for the sake of food, and it seems he is not going to endure it either. Good food will broaden your horizons and add happiness. The boy continues to be called by his name while talking all sorts of nonsense. All the emotions are written on his face. The young man has a feeling as if he inadvertently lost the battle. Haryung remembered her sister's request. She wanted to get some essential oil. The butter is sold out too quickly. The friends will go to the counter, and the two will remain in line for the dumplings. It's not the best idea to leave the guys alone, but then you don't want to stand in a huge line either. There's nothing to be done. We'll have to resolve the situation somehow, because we can't leave Yule alone. He doesn't want to. At this time, a messenger was sent to Nam Gung Castle to ask permission to go for a walk with young Baek Lee, and so, the lady and gentleman ask in horror if it is true that they have never seen their son want to go out anywhere. The couple necessarily gives their permission. The brunette asks when he leaves, so that she can have time to prepare him. The woman was deep in her thoughts about what she should give the boy for the journey, and what kind of jewelry Yang would receive. The brunette has already gone out for a walk. The message arrived too late. All that remains is to tell him to come back. There are no other options. Ryu could at least wait instead. He is constantly rushing somewhere. Of course his relatives can worry about him. Mr. Baek Lee was asked to become a teacher, but it seems the situation has become a little complicated. Because of the incident, Yan almost died. Unfortunately, the situation can't be resolved so easily now that things are like this. Nam Gung rushes out of his seat, asking for forgiveness, that he won't be able to have dinner with her. He has some important things to do today. At the entrance, Yi Kong and Wang met both of them going into the city to keep an eye on the children. In the end, Yayula was left behind, taking Chung with them. They honestly act like children who need to be taken care of. Of course, no one knows that a friend helps the heroine to be less nervous. She sometimes has problems so for now, he suddenly made a decision without even asking anyone about it. Yun should go with Ryun, but she keeps looking back. It makes no sense, it's annoying, so it's easier to go back. I can't leave Eula alone, he's probably offended. The girl hurries back to his line, running past people and remembering the road with the help of the force. The beauty realizes that she seems to have seen the figure of her father in a robe. The girl cannot be sure of what she sees. Everyone around is dressed similarly, and such costumes are quite common. The line became much longer. The little girl couldn't find her friend until she saw him chatting with someone. There was some concern about the boy's social skills, but he showed virtually no emotion. Without being interested in anything, the brunette always and everywhere followed his mistress. Seeing how the boy is now coping without his friend, it seems like the worries were a waste of time. Hopes quickly evaporated. The guys are not just talking, they are ready to start a fight very soon. The little girl squeezes forward, and when she is noticed, the brunette immediately smiles. It all happened in a split second. Seeing that Eula was about to be hit, the girl jumped forward, receiving a fist on the shoulder. Falling from above, she immediately asks if everything is okay with the body. The man gets up without answering. He just looks at the offender with a dark gaze full of inhuman anger. Suddenly, an ominous aura surrounded the body. Yeon stops the outstretched hand, asking that nothing happen. The demonic force gradually calms down. The girl nods, repeating again that she remains intact. That kid behind him yells, asking what the problem is. Jumping into a fight isn't the best idea they've ever had. The brunette is probably about 15 years old. He is dressed in expensive clothes. The energy core of his internal energy is clearly visible. The investigator of the Bright Path had no right to attack a child in broad daylight, just because they had a disagreement about something. The girl doesn't know who is in front of her. If he had been mentioned in the book, at least once, he would certainly have been remembered. I would like to know what family he belongs to, so that in the future, I can be sure of who I am dealing with. The madman doesn't know what to answer, so he chooses to swing again. I just calmed Eula down. It's reckless. Someone hit the young man in the face. Doing it silently, a coin falls to the floor. It is made of iron, so it is logical that it brought pain. It was cowardly to attack from behind, but he himself is no better since he insults little children. The people around are tired of what's happening. They're tired of yelling at the younger ones, so the only advice is to calm down and keep your head down. There are more opponents. Some boy claims that he saw something fly into his friend's face. He swears on the Jang family that he will not let this go so easily. The child was kicked out of his family for his rebellious nature. As you know, those people on these lands still have some power, and getting involved with them would not be the best idea. The girl has a bad feeling. The two continue to whisper, apparently deciding what to do next. Baek Lee introduces herself when asked. It is obvious that the baby's father is the famous Yi Kang. It is not clear what the people from there forgot. In these places, they have no purpose in being here. It is just a fair. Today is the first day in her life that the heroine uses her estate. Before her return, she never mentioned her father. The older one is Jung Wee Young from the Jung Bo clan, and the younger one is Joel from the Jung family. These guys are now more than familiar secondary characters. From the plot, they constantly offended Nam Gung. In other words, Zhang is the same villain and scum as Yan herself was in the past. She hoped not to meet him. V apologizes for making all this noise. He didn't mean for it to turn out like this. Joel assures that there is nothing to be afraid of. He remembered that Yi Kang's daughter was born without internal energy. Her Dian Tian was damaged. Now they have a frightening look, which I had noticed before. It becomes a little uneasy. This time, the girl won't give in. Yule is standing next to her, holding her hand, helping her pull herself together, and convince her that everything is fine. In the world of arts without energy, no one considers a person to be someone who needs to be informed. Fortunately, the lady has already gone through all the circles of hell. The girl said her name when asked, and now some scumbag is saying she's being arrogant. It's just unthinkable. Now Zhang is mercilessly insulting a man who can't even learn martial arts. This is no longer a bright path, but a dark one. The words the boy says he probably heard from his father, but in that case they are both scum. Yan realized it. From the moment the stranger entered the line, he and his family had some similarities with each other. They both insulted each other's family members. All that's left is to draw their swords and fight like masters. The lady doesn't even have a core. She won't lift a blade even if she wants to. Her proposal is absolutely stupid. She won't be the one fighting. There are those who are creating problems and making noise in the Nam Gung territory, which means the heir will stand up for defense. Young also came back. She managed to buy perfume and was glad that she didn't miss such an opportunity. Zhang is almost speechless when he sees Ryu in front of him. They obviously know each other. The boy is the ninth nephew on his mother's side. In a sense, they are blood relatives. While the girl explains the situation, the brunette begs his friend to leave quickly, otherwise they will both be in trouble. That man challenged Yeon to a sword duel, even though she didn't even have a weapon with her. Joel is a coward. If he doesn't want to go forward, someone else will do it for him. He will still win. Qing doesn't care what clan the enemy is from. He just orders them to attack. Born into the Nam Gung family, the boy does not receive any privileges. Now he will be taught what true mastery is. The blade is powerful, filled with strength, which is why the boy cannot contain it. Ryu deftly dodges every blow, simply because he can and wants to. He thinks it will be faster that way. The technique is reminiscent of Ikain. The main character remembered the movements after one fight, which is worthy of praise. Very soon it was all over. The young man won. It didn't even cost him much effort. With a crazy look, Nam Gung waits for the next opponent. It won't be difficult for him to win again.